Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Caroline out today. She was on the midday show. She did a fantastic job. Her and Big Joe did a fantastic job. So I want to start on practice today because I thought today practice, full practice report. And yesterday I watched the offense and yesterday I watched the defense and I like what I saw from the defense. But again, it was Blaine Gabbert and the no guy crew and whatever. Take them out of it. Today I watched the offense and the word I would use to describe how I felt with the Titans offense against the Bucks defense, which had all real players. Vita Vea was out there. Joe Tryon was out there. Akeem Hicks was out there. Devin White was out there. Antoine Winfield Jr. was out there. Sean Murphy-Bunting was out there. Logan Ryan was out there. They had real players on defense. This wasn't offense yesterday where it was Blaine Gabbert and Julio Jones, two guys the Titans kicked out the door over the last couple of years. So I watched the receivers and the one-on-ones first, and I could go over everyone, but I'll just go over the big ones. Racey McMath, and this was in the red zone for the one-on-ones. Racey McMath had a really good route. In fact, I wrote 13 great route great, so obviously I wrote great twice. What I put in my notes, I thought Kyle Phillips in the one-on-ones absolutely put on a show. Number 18. He got a bunch of checks, for catching the ball. In fact, Logan Woodside put one behind him. It was a bad throw in the one-on-ones, and he made a great play. Then they went to little two-on-twos. I thought the receivers looked pretty good. So that gave me a hope that today was going to be a good practice day from the offense, where yesterday was a good practice day from the defense. Now, I didn't see the defense. TD will be here at 3 o'clock for the TD Power Hour. He'll have a full breakdown on defense. He watched defense today. But all I noticed with the offense, we'll start with Tannehill, and then we'll get to kind of the whole big picture as far as how the Titans offense went. But just the whole thing with today's practice is I didn't feel like they gassed Tampa Bay in the running game. I felt like they got some good gains. I didn't feel like in the passing game that they were terrible. Tannehill didn't throw any interceptions, though he almost threw one, but almost doesn't count. No interceptions for Tannehill. Couple of drops here and there. One by Hooper I didn't like. One by McMath in a 2-minute drill that was unacceptable. But for the most part, it was okay. That's the way I would say that today's practice went with the offense was. It was okay. 11 on 11. Tannehill incomplete. Threw it away because of pressure. Tannehill play action complete to Westbrook-Akina. Gain 10. We'll get to Westbrook-Akina in a second. Play action, 81 Hooper drop, but it was a high throw by Tannehill. Although I will say Jordan Roos, who was playing guard, number 70, with the first-team offense because Nate Davis went in yesterday early. He got turned around by a blitzer, and Dontrell Hilliard picked him up. I mean, it was a defensive lineman just smoked right through Roos, and Dontrell Hilliard picked him up, which is good since, quite frankly, when the games matter, Dontrell Hilliard's going to be in that spot, and Jordan Roos hopefully will not be. 7-on-7 red zone, Tannehill was pretty sharp. Complete to Westbrook-Akina. Complete to Burks for a touchdown, in which on Logan Ryan there was a flag for illegal contact. Obviously, in a game they would decline that penalty. That was a touchdown to Burks. Tannehill complete short to Swaim. Tannehill complete to Dontrell Hilliard. In the seam over the head of Devin White. That was a good throw by Tannehill and a good catch by Dontrell Hilliard. Back in on 7-on-7. Tannehill complete to Hilliard in the corner for a touchdown. Tannehill complete to Westbrook-Akina. Tannehill complete to Des Fitzpatrick. And then Tannehill came off the field. 11 on 11s when they went back to it inside the red zone. So this is red zone work in 11 on 11. They ran to the right with Hilliard. The defensive line outperformed the offensive line, which, again, the running, no Derrick Henry. They don't actually tackle. I didn't feel like the Titans were getting big holes, but I didn't feel like they were getting eaten alive by the Buccaneers either. Tannehill complete to Hilliard, although the Titans did have an illegal shift. And I will say this. One thing I liked, all I saw was the flag, and the referee was standing by me, and he made the motion for a legal shift, and then Tannehill went to the referee and said, what'd he do? And the ref talked to him, and I don't know what the ref said, and then Tannehill ran back to the guys, and he got on them and said, hey, make sure you're set, and he had a discussion with the guys. Tannehill, again, taking ownership and kind of coaching the group. That's what I'd like to see. So I like that, even though there was an illegal shift, which I don't like. Tannehill had a completion to Dontrell Hilliard, in which Logan Ryan hit him in the helmet, which we'll get into as well. 11 on 11 in the red zone. Tannehill was incomplete, intended for Westbrook-Akina. Now, this bothered me because it should have been intercepted by number 34 for Tampa Bay, but that was against Tampa Bay's twos. At one point, Tannehill in the first-string offense was going up against Tampa Bay's twos, and it didn't look like they were Tampa Bay's twos. Then I'd see Malik out there against Tampa Bay's ones, and it did look like Malik and the crew against Tampa Bay's ones. Tannehill hit Dontrell Hilliard for another touchdown in the red zone, and I thought that was pretty good. So all in all, you hear with Tannehill, didn't like this, but I did like this. Kind of how Tannehill's played since he's been here. Has there been some drives? Oh, boy, Tannehill looked sharp. Then there's some drives that aren't so pretty. Here's what I didn't like. 2-minute drill. So the ball is at the 50-yard line. The Titans have, the ball is at the Tampa Bay 40. The Titans have 50 seconds and one timeout, and they have to score a touchdown. First play, Tannehill sacked. First play, Vrabel calls timeout. As Vrabel would say after practice, that sack essentially killed any chance of winning the game, and that is true. And Tannehill can't be taking sacks in that situation, and the offense can't be giving up sacks in that situation. At the Tampa Bay 49, Tannehill complete to Phillips, gain of 9. Then with 29 seconds to go, no timeouts, Tannehill complete to Phillips for a gain of 8. Now they're at the Tampa Bay 34. Tannehill throws the ball deep, incomplete for Phillips. At the Tampa Bay 30, Tannehill incomplete, deep, intended for McMath with 18 seconds left. Ball was right on the corner, and McMath dropped it. It was a beautiful throw by Tannehill. It was right in front of me at the practice field, and he dropped it. And McMath can't be dropping it. And McMath had some drops on Saturday, too. So he's had a great camp, but I'm getting a little worried about that. And then Tannehill with 13 seconds left on third down, completed a ball with 13 seconds, completed it to Westbrook-Akina, who gained 6 inbounds. He gained 6 inbounds with 13 seconds to go. Game's over. It's like Dak Prescott sliding in the playoff game against San Francisco. The other stuff for today, Malik. Here's the thing about Malik. Malik got intercepted on his first throw of 7-on-7s, intercepted by number 23, intended for Fitzpatrick. But for most of Malik's throws, now he had some nice ones out there today, but for a lot of Malik's throws, there was just too much heat on him. Incomplete for Burks, and then I put in my notes, too hot. Complete to McMath for a touchdown. That's good. Threw one incomplete in the seam out of the back of the end zone. My note said, too hot for Malik. Malik, the problems with Malik, there's 3 real problems with Malik. One, he doesn't throw the ball. He hangs on in the pocket, and I believe he started his 2-minute drive, and Tampa Bay's sideline, it was like a real sideline where all the Titan players were on one sideline, all the Tampa Bay players were on another sideline. Malik starts his 2-minute drill, and immediately he's holding the ball in the backfield, and we hear from the Tampa Bay sideline, sack 1, sack 2. They're kind of chiding Malik a little bit with that, but he held on to the ball too long. He did take off and run in the 2-minute drill, which looked good. Like it was the right time to run. It was the right way to run where there wasn't anything, at least that he saw. He took off, he ran, and just goes out of bounds. Again, that's good in a 2-minute drill, but clearly Vrabel doesn't want that to be Malik's go-to all the time. But I just thought all in all, the offense today, especially with Malik, as I'm looking through my notes, just kind of sloppy. 11 on 11 in the red zone. Malik, an RPO keeper for a touchdown, and that was against Tampa Bay's one, so that was good. Malik complete to 85 for a touchdown on Logan Ryan, and I put in my notes, a rocket throw from 7. I think that's a plus. 7+1. So, again, he's got the rocket arm now. I mean, he can zing it. But today he was zinging it a little too much when he didn't need to, And then on that touchdown to Okonkwo, he zinged it. And apparently he needed to do that. Willis continued, an RPO on a 2-point play, an incomplete for 88 this was a version. Play action, incomplete for 88, and I put in my notes too high. So Malik just a little too much zip on the football. Logan got out there today. He didn't really do much either. I think it's pretty obvious to me today in the 2-minute drill, Tannehill really targeting Kyle Phillips. Yesterday it was Hooper, but just didn't seem all that sharp. I tried to watch the right tackles. I really couldn't tell. And if I was going to focus in on the right tackles today, I wasn't going to be able to see who completed the ball to whom and what rhythm they looked in. And I would really have to just look at the right tackle. But Petit Frere was at right tackle today. Jordan Roos was at right guard. And we can all pray that that is not a development for the Titans going forward. Again, I thought it was okay. I thought it was an okay day. I thought the defense dominated yesterday on Tampa Bay. I thought the offense did some good things today, some nice routes, some good catches, some good throws. I thought Tannehill was decisive today. I understood even on some of Tannehill's misses what he was trying to do, but it didn't feel like a great day for the Titans. Now, what that means is it was probably a competitive practice, and Tampa Bay's got a legitimate defense. So when I see the names out there, and Tampa Bay puts them on the back of the jerseys, which I'm incredibly thankful for, but when I see the names like Sean Murphy-Bunting and Vita Vea and Antoine Winfield Jr. and Levante David and Devin White and Akeem Hicks and Joe Tryon, when I see that group out there, those are real NFL players on a real legitimate NFL NFC defense. This was not yesterday where it was Gabbard, Julio, and a bunch of guys you all had never heard of like Jalen Darden. So there was some good, there was some bad on offense, nothing over the top, and the 2-minute drill, Tannehill took a sack on the first play, and that just can't happen. Now, there was a little fight after practice, and it happened right in front of me. I was standing there, TD, Nate Washington, we were just standing over in the corner, and all of a sudden I see Simmons kind of getting into it a little bit with somebody from Tampa. And there have been a couple of little dust-ups throughout the day. And it's always the fat guys. It's always the offensive lineman versus the defensive lineman. At one point, Lawan had started a little something with Tampa Bay, nothing crazy. So then, at the end of practice, Simmons and Fournette, and I believe when I was on the defensive field yesterday, there was a little something between Simmons and Fournette. So Simmons and Fournette start getting into it a little bit, and I can see them chirping, and then all of a sudden Simmons kind of pushes Fournette, and his helmet comes off. Well, now Fournette, without a helmet, he's going at Simmons. Well, Simmons isn't backing down, and apparently, and I didn't see this, but I was told by somebody else with a different angle, that Simmons connected on Fournette, whereas Fournette did not connect on Simmons. And then all of a sudden, everybody was out there, and it was all one big blur of white jerseys and blue jerseys. And the next thing I see, in the middle of this with guys, because you know how this all works, right? One guy goes at another guy, then a couple guys try to hold back that guy, and then more guys come over because they don't want to seem like they're letting the team down. It's like, if I don't get involved in this, I'm a bad teammate. So they all start running over. Well, at one point, it starts to get really heated with Simmons and Fournette. And I'd say this for Fournette. That's not a battle he's probably going to win. Next thing I know, I see Mike Vrabel right in the middle of it, pushing guys out. And it kind of reminded me of a couple years ago with the Patriots when there was a small little dust-up. And Tajay Sharp tried to run out on the field, and Vrabel came over and just pushed Tajay right back to the sideline. And Vrabel's right there in the middle of it, pushing around. As I said to Nate and TD, I said, I'd give it a 2.5. And only a 2.5. They only get the 0.5 because Fournette's helmet came off. It was not really much of anything. If anybody says it was something, it really wasn't. This always happens. This was not what we saw with the Patriots and the Panthers yesterday, where it spilled into the crowd with all the fans. Vrabel was asked after practice today about that little, skirmish at the end of practice. I didn't really care about it. I didn't think it was really anything that was a big deal. Vrabel not very happy about it after practice.
How do you like the intensity of the practices as a whole and guys maybe keeping their composure until a little bit of a dust-up at the end?
I think we should be able to not do dumb that hurts the team, and I would say that that's an example of that. You guys are all writing about what that is. that's what that would be.
And so I'm not writing about it or saying anything about it or anything. I'm not anything about it. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But a little something at the end of practice today. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I'll be honest, without Caroline, I'm not sure how many of your texts I'm going to read. So if you got a thought, go ahead and call it in. Because I'm not sure how many of your texts I'm going to read. It's kind of a pain in the ass to do that. 615-737-1025. There is one thing that I noticed today. Watching the offense, big picture. And we'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, football fans, Dak Prescott here. And I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DIRECTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, the beach is just the beginning. Because here, there's so much more to explore. So let's pedal, paddle, and maybe even parasail. Let's hit the trails, the coffee shops, the quaint boutiques, and craft breweries. And then let's indulge in some fresh seafood with a sea view. From the Gulf Coast to the Bay, there's something for every taste and every interest. So let's make the most of every sun-drenched minute, and let's shine. Start planning your next escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Well, I know, early in your career, things are moving fast, right? First time, going against, I guess he played in the game, but going against another team in practice and maybe something we haven't spent a lot of time preparing for on tape. Like a game week, right? You kind of go in with an idea of, all right, this team likes these coverages in 2 minutes. They like this on third down. So, coming out to a practice is a tough situation because you don't put quite as much time in the preparation. So, got to be able to make quick decisions and see what's going on. And for a young player, that's tough. But obviously, he's made a lot of strides this camp, and got to keep the foot on the gas with him.
There you go. That was Tannehill talking about, I believe, Malik yesterday. But I will say this about what I noticed. Malik, you guys love talking about Malik, and he is getting a lot of reps right now. But that's not a big takeaway from me. Malik has a lot of talent, and we saw the talent on display, and we also see the bad parts of the talent, like him throwing the ball too high, or him too hot for receivers, or him holding the ball too long in the pocket, or him taking off and run, which clearly Vrabel doesn't love. There's one big offensive takeaway I have from the practice with the Bucs that I saw today, and including what I saw of yesterday in the 2-minute from the offense, which is Ryan Tannehill has his guys. Ryan Tannehill knows who he wants to throw the ball to, and it's a handful of guys, and it's a varying degree of difference with how comfortable he is with each guy. But here's who he's going to throw the ball to. He's going to throw the ball to Austin Hooper. He's going to throw it to Robert Woods. He's going to throw it to Nick Westbrook-Akina. He's going to throw the ball to Traylon Burks. He's going to throw the ball to Chigakonkwo a little bit. He's going to throw it a little bit to Jeff Swaim. He's going to throw it to Kyle Phillips. And he's going to throw it to Dontrell Hilliard. Now, there's one guy, I don't know if he's going to throw the ball to Derrick Henry. I would assume he's going to throw the ball to Derrick Henry. They just haven't had any practices and pads with Derrick Henry, so there's no way for me to judge that. But that's who Tannehill likes throwing the ball to. All these other guys, and Racey McMath a little bit, all the other guys I'm not worried about. So there's a couple of spots on the roster that'll be open, whether it's Des Fitzpatrick or Mason Kinsey or Cody Hollister or whomever. And special teams might decide that spot, and I think it might be Hollister. But that doesn't matter. He's throwing the ball to those guys. Yesterday in the 2-minute drill, when Tannehill had the ball with the first-team offense, it was Hooper, Phillips, and then I think he threw one or two to Westbrook-Akina and Woods. Today, in the 2-minute drill, after he got sacked, Phillips, McMath, Westbrook-Akina. That's who he's throwing the ball to. Tannehill in 7-on-7. Tannehill complete to Westbrook-Akina. Tannehill complete to Burks. Tannehill complete to Swaim, who, again, he threw him the ball, but hopefully they're not relying on Jeff Swaim too much. And Tannehill complete to Dontrell Hilliard. Now, I don't know if all these guys are going to stay healthy through the course of the year because there's no way to guarantee that. But last year, and we can talk about Tannehill's excuses and everything else that happened last season, and I'm not here to tell you guys one way or another that, oh, yeah, this is why Tannehill struggled and this is why Tannehill will be better this year, because I don't know. I know all the ideas, I know all the theories, and we can debate how important all those were or weren't, but that was a last year thing. Right now, if it is, does Tannehill have a set of receivers that he likes? I think the answer is yes. And I think that right now, that's the group. Now, the order in which I would put Tannehill's comfort level in is I would say Hooper's probably number 1. Westbrook-Akina is probably number 2. Woods, Hilliard, Phillips, and then everybody else. But those are the guys that he likes throwing the ball to. And, boy, he loves throwing the ball, and I don't know if this is going to be an in-season thing because last year it was not. But he loves throwing the ball to Dontrell Hilliard out of the backfield. He loves it. He likes throwing the ball to Hooper. We all know that. And I think that Robert Woods is ultimately going to be a high-volume guy, and I'm not sure Robert Woods was on the field, though I guess I would have to ask. I'm not sure Robert Woods was on the field in that 2-minute drill, but he loves throwing the ball out of the backfield to Dontrell Hilliard. And while Hassan Haskins got a lot of carries today at practice, and he got a lot of touches with Logan and with Malik, I'm not sure Tannehill likes throwing the ball out of the backfield to Hassan Haskins the way he likes throwing it to Dontrell Hilliard, which then makes me wonder, is he going to be throwing the ball to Derrick Henry out of the backfield? I can't answer that question for you. But last year, going back to the running backs, we know that Ferkser was supposed to be the tight end, and then he got hurt, and so they claimed Michael Pruitt back. But the running back position, they had Derrick, and he was on the same plan where he didn't practice at all. Darrington Evans was supposed to be the number 2 running back. Then he got hurt, so Tannehill couldn't rely on him. Jeremy McNichols was his running back out of the backfield that they throw the ball to. And then when Derrick Henry got hurt and they asked more of McNichols, he was kind of ineffective, and Hilliard kind of took the job from him. And Hilliard was not around to develop that relationship with Tannehill in the offseason and in training camp. And when I was on the morning show today, Joe Rexrode asked me about what I thought the running back room was going to be. And I said, I thought it was going to be, and this was last week before the Baltimore game, when I put out the guys I think that were a lock to make the team. And I said Henry, Hilliard, and Haskins. And I believe all 3 of those guys will make the team. And I think that Hilliard is the 3rd down running back, and Tannehill likes throwing the ball to him. It is obvious to me who Tannehill trusts, and the guys that are not going to see the football from him unless they run into the same injury problems that they had last year. But it's going to be Woods, Burks, Westbrook-Akina, Phillips, Hooper, Hilliard, McMath, and then whatever Derrick Henry gets on top of that. And I think there's a comfort level there, and maybe that's why Tannehill looks better in training camp this year. I don't know. And again, I didn't think Tannehill looked great today. I thought Tannehill looked okay. I thought the offense looked okay. Did not like the sack to begin the 2-minute drill. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. The NFL has made it official with Deshaun Watson. And normally that wouldn't be more important than talking about practice to me. But I do want to get it out there because I am incredibly disappointed. Explain that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Let me tell you about the FanDuel Sportsbook app. That's right. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is my official sportsbook app. The NFL Week 1 odds are out. Now is the time to try FanDuel. If you haven't already, get in on all the action this season. Because right now, new FanDuel Sports customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. So, for instance, you can bet whether or not the Rams will repeat. You can, and I actually want to go see what the Cleveland odds look like now. Because as of yesterday, the Titans had worse odds than the Cleveland Browns to win the AFC. And I can't imagine after Deshaun gets suspended for 11 games that that's the same. So we'll have to do a little checking on that. But there's so many different bets that you can make. Futures, Week 1 odds, AFC, NFC, Super Bowl, whatever. You name it, they got it. Just sign up using the promo code JGM and place your first bet, and FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. There's no better place to get ready for the football season than on FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook, and my official sportsbook app as well, as an official betting partner of the NFL. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and use the promo code JGM to get started. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Titans training camp is underway.
Talking Titans?
What wide receivers make the team?
Traylon Burks.
The physicality.
Robert Woods.
Route concepts and how to get open. Who starts on the offensive line?
It's a full-on right tackle battle.
What other storylines will stand out?
Malik Willis, some of the best he's looked in camp.
Titans training camp coverage is fueled by Parman Energy. Now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com and by USA Hemp Store on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
People who call QC Kinetics are pretty much fed up with joint pain.
It's to the point where it's affecting their quality of life. Maybe they can't pick up their grandchildren anymore, or golf, or play tennis, or walk with their friends.
Dr. Justin Garzone, Medical Director at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, giving lasting joint pain relief with no drugs, no steroids, and no surgery.
The great thing about our therapies, there isn't any downtime. There's no side effects, so patients can get our treatment and continue on with their day-to-day life.
And Dr. Garzone speaks from experience. He had excruciating back pain and got relief at a QC Kinetics clinic.
Over a very short period of time, the pain went away completely, and I've had absolutely no symptoms or pain since my treatment.
Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Realizing Geico has over 85 years of experience saving folks money and providing great customer service is like realizing there's a crumb tray on the bottom of your toaster, and you don't have to keep turning the toaster upside down to clean it.
How long has that been there? Hey, who needs some croutons?
It's something that's been right there in front of you all along, like the dedicated Geico claims team available to you in the event of an accident to get you back on the road quickly, or realizing that baby carrots are just regular carrots that have been shaved down.
I don't care. They're still cute.
It's something you can't believe you never realized before. Like how Geico's 97% customer satisfaction rating means Geico is committed to providing the best service for their customers. Or how you can peel the top layer of tape off a lint roller and there's a fresh layer underneath.
Marcy, wait till you hear about the lint roller.
You mean how the handle is reusable?
Wait, what?
Trust. It's just one of the many reasons to switch to Geico. They're all right there in front of you.
Now's the time to make a message known. All working-class Tennesseans vote no on Amendment 1 this voting season. Right to work does not belong in the state constitution. Hardworking families deserve to have their needs addressed in today's economy. Visit TennesseeWorkerAlliance.org. Paid for by the Nashville Building Trades.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their series in Jacksonville.
Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win.
Pregame at 5:50
on your home for Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Penny Hardaway, University of Memphis coach. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
There was a lot going on in that press conference, and let's start out with Jimmy Haslam being asked directly whether he would make the Deshaun Watson trade again now. He said absolutely. Went on to say, is he not supposed to ever play again? Is he not supposed to be a part of society? Haslam talked about believing in second chances, mentioned Kareem Hunt, the second chance they gave him, and said that that one has worked out pretty well. In terms of all the questions about how Deshaun Watson is going to be treated on the road, how this is going to affect the football team, the bottom line is this: whether Deshaun Watson was suspended for 6 games, 11 games, or indefinitely, the Browns knew when they got involved in this situation back in March, when they decided to give up all those draft picks, including 3 first-rounders for Deshaun Watson, give him a 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed contract that is completely unprecedented in the NFL. They knew that this was something that they were going to be affected by in 2022, that in all likelihood Deshaun Watson was going to be suspended, that there would be consequences in terms of when they go on the road, the things that they hear, the headlines they generate, and for the past 5 months, they've experienced all part of that.
Tom Pelissero, NFL Network. Deshaun Watson suspended 11 games, a $5 million fine, and that's it. And he will return against the Texans, which I was told by people that the NFL didn't want that game to be him to return to Houston when they made out the schedule. We'll see. And let me say this. It was a settlement by the PA and the NFL, and they had originally wanted 12 games and $10 million before they decided to wait it out for Judge Sue L. Robinson. So Judge Sue L. Robinson had her information. She was letting the two sides negotiate a settlement. Watson, I think, was willing to take, I believe, 6 games or maybe 8 games or something like that. And the league wanted 12 games and a $10 million fine. And then Judge Sue L. Robinson, Watson's camp, said no. And then Judge Sue L. Robinson came out with her 6-game ruling, which was ridiculous. And the NFL decided to appeal it to the NFL, and they pointed out a designee, and they said, this guy's going to review the appeal and then decide, a.k.a. this guy works for the NFL. Whatever the NFL tells him to do is what he's going to do. The NFL had complete and total authority to ban Deshaun Watson for the season. They could have banned Deshaun Watson for life if they wanted to. They had the final authority. As everybody who knows this situation would tell you, whether it was Paul Kaharski who told the morning show, John McClain, I had him on Sirius XM, but John McClain said that if the only next step would be federal court and the NFL will win in court. And everybody knew it because the CBA was so clear as to how this was going to be decided. So the NFL appeals it, and we had heard yesterday Dan Graziano put out on Twitter at ESPN, he said that he was hearing that Peter Harvey, the league's designee, was awaiting settlement talks. If they couldn't reach a settlement, he would put out his ruling, but that's what he was waiting for. And I guess he didn't have to because they settled at 11 games and a $5 million fine. And I'm so incredibly disappointed in the NFL. Because this is the question that I ask all of you. What did Deshaun Watson lose? Now, we know Deshaun Watson did what they said he did because Judge Robinson wrote that she believes he did what they said they did. We read the articles. We saw Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. We heard his half-hearted apology that was so incredibly insincere on the Browns TV network. We heard all of that. and Deshaun Watson gets 11 games and a $5 million fine, plus whatever the 11 games on his $1 million salary, because he gets all of his money up front, what did Deshaun Watson and his trash behavior, what did he lose? What is his punishment? That he doesn't get to play 11 games this season? That's his punishment? You do know he chose voluntarily not to play 17 games last season. So I don't think the idea about letting my teammates down because I'm not out there, I don't think that's going to be a problem for Deshaun. Certainly wasn't a problem in Houston. He decided he didn't want to be a part of that team. Nah, just go ahead and deactivate me every week and give me my $40 million and just leave me alone. So he gets 11 games. What's $1 million divided by 11? Wait a minute, I don't think that's right. $1 million divided by 17. So, and again, I don't like doing math on the air. So it's $58,000 a game that he's going to lose. Times 11, Deshaun's going to lose $647,000. So a guy who is going to make $230 million guaranteed is going to lose $5.64 million. That's it. And whatever else it took him to settle. And remember, he got a $42 million check up front this March. He got $40 million last year. He didn't play it down. What a joke. And the NFL didn't have to do this. The NFL should have sent a message. The NFL should have truly punished Deshaun Watson. Roger Goodell said last week on camera, Roger Goodell is a politician. He never says anything about anything unless he feels like he has to say it. And Roger Goodell said his behavior was predatory and that he wanted him suspended for a year. Well, he had the power to do it. He's the league. He easily could have said, nope, it's a year. Easily could have said it. And if he's going to essentially undermine the system that most people didn't understand, but that was clearly defined in the CBA, if he was going to undermine Judge Sue L. Robinson's ruling, was it worth it for an extra 5 games? What's the punishment here? Had Deshaun Watson been suspended for an entire year, there's a real punishment with this. And you would say, what do you mean, Jared? He didn't play last year. And if you say he doesn't care about the 11 games, then why would he care about 17 this year? Because if he gets suspended for the entire year, then his contract tolls. And that, I think it's 4 years, $230 million, maybe 4 years, 5 years, I can't remember. Then it's adding on an extra year. So Deshaun Watson basically has to give a year back to the NFL. That is a real punishment. Because if Deshaun is a good quarterback, and I want to say it's a 5-year deal. It might have been a 4-year deal. I can't remember. But if the contract tolls, then that extra year, which to every high-end quarterback right now is about $50 million, he has to give back to the league. So they had the ball in their court to do this. They could have fined him even more money. They wanted originally $10 million. Had they agreed to the original negotiating benchmark that the league wanted reportedly, which was 12 games and a $10 million fine, had they agreed to that, I would have understood why the NFL held their ground at 12 and 10, even though I wouldn't have liked it. I would have understood, look, they didn't want to undermine Judge Sue L. Robinson by appealing the decision to themselves. They didn't want to make the Players Association mad. They didn't want the players to lose faith in the system because the system is real. I know you all don't think it is, but the mutually agreed upon arbiter does actually have authority. Had she ruled that there had been no wrongdoing by Watson, or that she felt like he was innocent, like she might have ruled for Tom Brady in Deflategate, like she might have ruled for Ezekiel Elliott and his situation in Dallas, then there's nothing the NFL could have done. But instead, they immediately appealed it to themselves, and there were a lot of people that were saying, oh, my God, Roger Goodell, how dare they ruin the system? What's the point of Judge Sue Robinson? And that's something the NFL didn't want to do. But once they took that step, like that, Pandora's box was open, the line had been crossed. They didn't need to negotiate with Deshaun. The only thing the NFL gets out of this is that they're not going to have to spend any more money litigating this in court. Because even though the NFLPA knew that Deshaun Watson would have lost had this thing gone to federal court, even though they knew it, it's still pretty expensive. Anytime somebody gets sued, even if it's completely frivolous, it's expensive. It's annoying. It's a pain in the butt. So if the NFL, that's why they didn't do it, and I'm just so incredibly disappointed. No punishment for Deshaun Watson. 24 women. The Texans, who are not completely innocent in this, but for the most part, they didn't know that they were setting up Watson to essentially assault these women. They settled with 30. Predatory behavior, per the commissioner, 11 games. No punishment for Deshaun Watson. No punishment. That's what that was. What's he lose? $5 million? He made 40 last year and he didn't play a snap. He's made $42 million already this year. Oh, man. And Deshaun Watson, because we heard when they came out with 6 games, Diana Rossini and Adam Schefter and everybody else reported that, oh, Deshaun's camp, they think that he should get no games. So I'm sure Deshaun will act like, and I know he says that he apologized, but we know that that's not true. We knew the contrition was at a level of 0. But Deshaun must just feel like he totally worked the league over. He worked the Texans over. He worked the Browns over. And now he's worked the league over. It is so disturbing. It's so disappointing. I am not going to say that this is the same as the 2-game suspension for Ray Rice before we saw the videotape. But at least there was a little benefit of the doubt that they hadn't seen the videotape with that. This is bad. No punishment for Deshaun Watson. Next year he will make his $43 million and play every game for the Cleveland Browns. No punishment. Disappointing. 615-737-1025. We'll get to your phones. We'll get to your Titans phones. I'll get into the text line if you want to, but we'll go to your phones first. We'll get your Watson thoughts as well, 615-737-1025. Then TD will join us at 3 o'clock. He'll have the defensive breakdown of practice today. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
The mostly sunny skies set to continue through the afternoon with no rain chance in sight today. Highs in the upper 80s, a few low 90s for the metro areas. Overnight, partly cloudy skies, temperatures dropping into the upper 60s. For Fox 17, I'm Code Red meteorologist Zach Covey.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage. Whether you are buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
It's a fact. Guys hate going to the doctor. But when it comes to erectile dysfunction and low testosterone issues, men from all over Middle Tennessee have been thrilled seeing Dr. Alderson and their providers at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Men all the way up to 95 years old have jump-started their sex drive and energy levels. Lots of men suffer with ED for years, but now they're able to enjoy sex again. Tom from Nashville said, "The Tennessee Men's Clinic has changed my life. I have been able to be intimate with my wife for the first time in 5 years. She thought this problem was because of her, but the pills never worked for me. I had given up until I went to the clinic and realized there were more options for erectile dysfunction. Now I'm happy and my wife is happy. A visit for only $99, and that includes all testing, including a PSA and testosterone test. Give the guys at the clinic a call at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090. Or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Clean Freak, brought to you by Mr. Clean. Looking for an all-purpose cleaner to muscle through the tough dirt around your home? Well, the Mr. Clean Clean Freak Mist is up for the job. Clean Freak Mist brings the cleaning power and the special power nozzle to tackle hard-to-reach dirt, which means it can conquer caked-on messes in your microwave, stained countertops, and grimy surfaces. Just spray, wipe, and done. Brought to you by Mr. Clean. There's no clean like Mr. Clean.
Chase McCabe.
Competition in all positions.
Willie Donick.
You know what? I went on the radio and I tried.
And Derek Mason.
The man that sleeps on the floor never falls out to bed.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
The NFL and the NFLPA, more specifically the NFLPA lawyers that are representing Deshaun Watson in this entire appeal case with the NFL. Originally, it was 6 games. Originally, the world went bananas. Then there was an appeal from the NFL. Roger Goodell appointed the DA, I think, from New Jersey to look into this. Roger Goodell was on the record as saying that the judge, Sue L. Robinson, in her first time representing the NFL court, she said that it was obvious numerous violations, and he even said the word predatory behaviors. It was nonviolent, though, which is why it was 6 games in Sue L. Robinson's mind. But Roger Goodell and the NFL were very public and said that ain't enough, and so was most of the public opinion. So we didn't know what was going to take place. Would it be a year? Because that's what the NFL had been pushing for all along, and the judge that was listening to the appeal was appointed by the NFL. So you would assume that the NFL knows what the judge is going to do. So that maybe was the reason why the NFLPA wanted to strike a deal immensely and quickly with the NFL. They have done as such as of this morning.
There you go. That was Pat McAfee laying it all out there on the Deshaun Watson front. And I am just so disappointed in the National Football League. I really thought Roger Goodell was going to do right. I really thought Roger Goodell was going to suspend Deshaun Watson for the season. And he didn't. 11 games. That's it. $5 million. Add in the $600,000 in salary that Deshaun will lose. $5.6 million. So disappointed. I guess you can get away with anything. I guess Deshaun can. At least there is this little nugget. Going into yesterday, the Cleveland Browns had better odds to win the AFC on the FanDuel Sportsbook app at plus 1,200, or maybe I think it was plus 1,400 or something like that, than the Titans did, who now sit at plus 1,400. Well, because of the 11-game suspension, which I don't know why anybody betting it didn't realize at the time that that was going to happen, maybe even more, the Cleveland Browns now have a plus 2,100 chance of winning the AFC. The Titans are plus 1,400. So congratulations to the Titans, who have now moved up on the FanDuel Sportsbook app as far as those odds are concerned. So at least there's that. Your phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll get to your text first. Texter asks and says, maybe I'm just confused, but why didn't the Texas courts find Watson guilty? What Roger Goodell describes as criminal, but the courts didn't think so, ? Let me ask everybody this question. because I've probably argued with about 800 callers about this over the last 2 months all over the country. And the one thing that I will tell you is this. The courts didn't find O.J. Simpson guilty either. Now let me ask you a question. If you had the right to suspend O.J. Simpson, and you could, based on what you know, would you have suspended O.J. Simpson? Again, the court said not guilty for O.J. in the killing of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. We all know, via the preponderance of the evidence, O.J. did it. In fact, a civil court, which applies the same standard, said O.J. did it, and that's why Ron Goldman's estate basically owns O.J. Simpson now. So you answer that question for yourself. Texter says, if the NFL is all right settling with 11 games and a $5 million fine, we better never hear Goodell or anyone from the NFL complain about a ruling a judge makes concerning discipline. I mean, again, as long as a judge says that somebody did whatever they did, if they have to do this, then there will be a suspension. The NFL can kick it to itself. Unless the judge says that there's no suspension, then the NFL, then it's final, and the NFL can't do anything about it. I am disappointed in Goodell. Let me say this. When I talk about my disappointment in the league, it starts with Goodell. And it pretty much ends with Goodell. I think this is bad for Goodell. Just showing me what kind of guy he is. Let's get some of your texts on practice. Somebody texts in and says, check out where Game 12 is for Cleveland. Yes, he's going to play the Texans. And not to say that I think the NFL is trying to do this, but that game's going to be a must-watch TV game. I'm guessing as of right now, that is a noon kickoff on CBS, Browns and Texans, on whatever day that is in Week 12. They can't do this, but they should go ahead and make it the Thursday night game, because that game has Thursday night written all over it. If it was a primetime game, and they may flex it into something, if that was a primetime game, everybody would tune in. And boy, are they going to let Watson have it. And that is the only solace that I can take out of any of this with Watson, is that everybody across the country thinks that this guy is a piece of you-know-what. That's the only thing, is that his reputation is in complete tatters and will never be the same again. And it should be that way, but that's the only solace I take out of this non-punishment. Texter says he lost all endorsement deals. Great. I would assume you do the time, it would include endorsement deals. Texter says 6-11 for the Titans this season. They have a bottom quarterback and no wide receivers. Tannehill will lead the league in interceptions. Well, I don't think Tannehill was going to lead the league in interceptions before we saw what we've seen at training camp. But he just played the Bucs defense for 2 straight days, and he threw 1 interception over the 2 days. So I'm going to guess that he's probably not going to lead the league in interceptions. I have no idea how I feel about Tannehill's affinity for this receiving group. I know he likes him. I know he likes Hooper. I know he loves Westbrook-Akina. I think he's developing chemistry with Robert Woods, and what I know of Robert Woods, I think that he and Robert Woods will work well together. Every now and then, Treylon Burks has some nice plays. The consistency is not there for Burks, but I think they're hoping that they can work that out. He had a little bit of a good chemistry with Chig at one point, and I haven't seen so much of that in camp. Kyle Phillips looks like a dude. Racey McMath had a good start to camp, dropped some balls on Saturday, dropped a big one today, but I think Tannehill still trusts him, and I think that's his deep ball guy. I know he likes him. I think he likes that group. Do I think he thinks it's as talented as Jarvis Landry and Kenny Stills and all the guys he had in Miami? No. But do I think that Tannehill looks at this group and thinks, you know what? Phillips can be for me what Adam Humphries was when Adam Humphries could be on the field. Hooper can be for me a little bit of what Jonnu Smith was for me. Woods can be a little bit for me what Corey Davis was for me. Burks can maybe be a little bit for me what A.J. Brown was for me. And Hilliard's a guy I can actually trust to throw the ball to out of the backfield. And I think he likes him. Now, I wouldn't run to any other city and say, hey, I'll take my receivers up against your receivers, Miami, and let's do battle. With Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Cedric Wilson and Mike Gesicki, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't even go to the Steelers because I did see George Pickens and their opener against Seattle in the preseason, and he looked like a dude. I wouldn't go up to Pittsburgh and say, hey, I know you got Chase Claypool and DeAndre Johnson and George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth, but I'll take my guys versus your guys. I wouldn't do that. Wouldn't even do that with Seattle. They have nobody to get those guys the ball. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Noah Fant. But I do think he likes his guys. And I think that's an important thing for him. And last year, I don't think he really trusted the guys he was throwing the ball to. And I think another part of that probably bothered him, or at least it bothered me, is that last year, I don't even think he really liked throwing the ball to Julio and the guys he was supposed to be throwing the ball to. Texter says, A to Z said the Titans definitely looked good /won today, so who is correct, them or you? I didn't watch defense, so I can't tell you that. I watched offense. I thought it was kind of sloppy, kind of good, kind of bad. I thought it was very competitive today. Yesterday, I thought the Titans dominated on defense. Last year, I thought the Titans went to Tampa Bay in day one and absolutely smoked the Buccaneers, and day two, they got absolutely smoked. Today, offense versus defense, I thought it was a very competitive practice. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. TD will join us coming up next for the TD Power Hour. And you know what? I think I'll give away some Dirks Bentley tickets next hour. So be listening for your chance to win. We are your home for great Titans training camp coverage, as well as our new high school show. Join Big Joe Dubin and Elijah Campbell tomorrow for the Apple Collision Center's Game Blitz from 6 to midnight. They'll preview the big games and then take you through the night of high school football around the mid-state. And since we're the only radio station in town that has a clue, I do feel like our high school football show will be very thorough and all together. It's the Apple Collision Center's Game Blitz on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
You watch the game.
Line to left, coming on Newstrom. Base hit, Sounds win.
We talk the game.
But they knew he'd be really good. Well, if they don't make that move, they don't win those championships.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. We have a team committed to helping you navigate the court system, whether you've been accused of a crime or you're going through a messy divorce and custody. Call our team to help you navigate this system. We are here to protect your rights, to demand your rights, to enforce your rights. 615-604-6263. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Cromwell Media, who owns this radio station, is observing a significant milestone this month. Our founder, Bud Walters, is celebrating his 50th year as president. Joining Bud with anniversaries of their own are Max Hurst and Scott Meyer with 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and Ryan Burke in our sales department is also celebrating 1 year with us. From 1 year to 50 years, Cromwell Media is a great place to work, and you're invited to join us. Send an email to together@cromwellmedia.com and tell us about yourself. That's together@cromwellmedia.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushes.
Awesome game. Center flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live in the Hillside Medical Game Studios. No Caroline today, but it is 3 o'clock on a Thursday, which means that TD is with us for the Tehran Davenport Power Hour. TD was at practice today. TD, good to see you. How are you? See if we got
all
TD
right,
there.
here we.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, man, I'm doing well. Back-to-back joint practices. Excited about that, and man, what a day today we got to see.
So I saw the offense today. I saw you were over on the defensive field for a lot of today's practice. I thought the offense was so-so. You know, there were some good, some bad, some takeaways I have. But let's start with the defense against Blaine Gabbert and co. What did you make?
Yeah, I think really it starts with Caleb Farley and what he was able to do. And it's good to see him bounce back after having a tough day yesterday. He said that the main thing was for him was just working on his pad level. And he's continued to try to do a better job of coming out of his back pedal and closing on the football. And he had some pass breakups today. He and Christian Fulton, also Roger McCreary, they were really good in the one-on-one period. There's a little guy from the Bucks by the name of Devin Tompkins, number 83. And this dude just has a way of getting open. And they did a good job against him. So that's what stood out to me from the secondary. As far as the other parts of the defense, I mean, the front, they continue to be really difficult to run the football on. Initially, there was a little success running the ball. The Bucks were able to get outside a few times. But whenever you're running between those tackles, man, that darn Tierre Tart is an issue. And he had a couple nice stuffs. He even was able to get a sack. He and Jeffrey Simmons, obviously. But then there was another play, and I'm smiling when I say this because it was David Long. And I just love the way he attacks because he came up and he was filling against the run. He came up, and Donovan Smith is the guy that he hit. And that's their starting left tackle. Now, mind you, David Long is 225 pounds. Donovan Smith is 300 plus. So he gave up 75 pounds to him. But let me tell you something. There was a collision. One person stood straight up. The other one fell back. And the one that stood straight up wasn't Donovan Smith. I love the way David Long approaches the game. And that's a good example of just like how he has, you know, the cliche, that dog in him. So that was really good. I do, again, like I said, like how they were able to clog the run in the middle. Caleb Farley, late in practice, you know, he had an interception and then a pass breakup. So that's pretty much my take from the defense. I was impressed. I think they had, once again, a day where they came out on top. And as you've mentioned throughout the week, they should come out on top because this is an offense that doesn't have Godwin. It doesn't have Evans. And most importantly, Brady's not out there. You can't forget Ryan Jensen is not out there either.
Yeah. What did you make of kind of the way that the secondary, I don't want to say how they lined up, but how McCreary and Farley are battling for that spot? What did you make of that kind of battle today?
Well, that's the thing that's really interesting to me is the way McQuarrie has just kind of wiggled his way up the depth chart, right? And now he's at a point where he and Farley are rotating pretty significant reps. And I think it really just comes down to one of the things that Shane Bowen said the other day about McQuarrie is that he doesn't seem like a rookie out there. And this goes back, if you remember on draft day, when he was selected, one of the things I said was, this is a guy who's battle tested and prepared, and it's not going to be too big for him because he's seen guys consistently on Saturdays that will be playing on Sundays. And I think that was part of the big transition. So that's what he's done. He's always in phase. He's a guy that, as Mike Vrabel said, doesn't make the same mistake twice. So that's really what he's done to be able to get himself in position to get those reps.
Now, Mike Vrabel brought up the fact that Tampa Bay busted out about 3 or 4 runs to start the 11-on-11 period that he didn't like. I think part of that, too, is because Vrabel was probably looking for something negative to highlight to the defense as opposed to saying, hey, 2 days you guys dominated Blaine Gabbert. Way to go, guys. All right, let's get some pizza and ice cream. No, I do wonder this, though. Because Vrabel highlighted that and didn't say anything else bad, did Blaine Gabbert effectively pass the ball? Did that group, because even though it's not Evans and Godwin, Julio Jones is a legitimate NFL player, so is Cameron Brate, so is Jalen Darden. Did they effectively pass the ball at all today? Kyle Trask in the second team? Or was it a total lockdown in the Tampa Bay passing game?
You know, a couple of those guys did some things in one-on-ones. Cameron Brate was able to, you know what? He didn't gather it through contact with the ground. So that was called incomplete. They were working a lot of rub routes and those type of things. And there were a few times where Brate got open. Vincent Smith, a big receiver for the Bucs, he caught a corner route on one of those kind of switch release type of deals where the coverage got a little confused and he was wide open. But this was against the second unit. I'll say this. They did a period, from the 5-yard line in, and the first team didn't give up a touchdown in that. But then the second group, they gave up 2. So, and we're talking about, 5 plays, let them go, and it didn't happen on the first 5. But 2 out of the 5 plays were touchdowns on the second one, and those were through the rub routes. I forget who it was that was able to get open, but it was back-to-back touchdowns for them.
What did you think of the guys that, I'm not going to call them second-team guys, even though they probably were playing with the 2s, but the guys who are going to play this year that aren't the starters, a guy like Weaver or Ola Adeni or that Josh Kalu, who I think has kind of worked his way in there. What did you think of them?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought up Weaver. I really like Rashad Weaver, and he's a guy, I don't care what the situation is, 8 out of 10 times you're not going to get outside of him. He sets that edge so well, and that's something that he doesn't get credit for. But he's a really solid player against the run. That length he's able to use. He didn't do anything that stood out today, after I gave him all those compliments. But I will say this, Ola Adeni, you mentioned him, and he's someone, he had a sack. He was able to knife in there really quickly coming off the edge. I believe it was Donovan Smith, again, that he beat. And he came off the edge and got what would have been a sack. But these guys, they were right there. He and Tierra Tart coming up the middle, they were right there where, Gabbert was in their grasp. So there's no mistaking that would have been a sack. I think Ola is, and Weaver, in fact, these are 2 guys that could really unlock that outside linebacker group, and that you could just, with those 5, and you mix in maybe David and Nenny, now you got guys that you could just keep. And I said this to you yesterday. You could keep unleashing those guys like the zombies in I Am Legend, right? Just every snap, go, pin your ears back and go get the quarterback. And that's something that, having those guys come up, that will really help that. As far as Kalu's concerned, as you said, he did step up. He had a nice pass breakup today. They were doing the 2-minute period, the hurry-up period. And it was a Hail Mary, and he went up there and it wasn't a Hail Mary. It was just a regular post. But he went up there and he knocked it down. Kalu is a guy that's always going to have a shot just because of his special teams value as well. We know he's the field goal blocker. So he definitely is in the mix.
So when I watched defense yesterday, TD, one thing that stood out to me is that Jeffrey Simmons was the best player on the field, hands down, no discussion. Was Simmons the same way today?
I would have to say yes. But not only was he the best player on the field, he was the noisiest. And that's something, he has a knack for setting the tone for that team. And that's what he does, and he does that obviously through his play, but also his talking. And, there were multiple times where you saw him, like, you're not going to run up the middle, as I said, with Tart and Jeffrey Simmons there. And they did a really good job. He's clearly the best player. Even in some of the one-on-one pass rushing type of situations, he not only was able to use his bull, but he threw a couple moves out there with his hands, just, knocking the inside hand down and then clubbing out the way and then coming off that edge and getting to the coach who was representing the quarterback. So he's the best player on the field. I don't think there's a discussion there.
What did you think about the communication? I noticed yesterday when I was watching defense, Coach Midget stands all the way at the back and tries to communicate with those guys. And I think that's a good thing because in the games it's going to be so hard for him to be able to communicate with those guys on the field. And I see Byard and Hooker kind of handling a lot of it as they are supposed to. What did you think about the defensive communication on the field today?
Yeah, it's really good. And it's not just the safeties. It's David Long also. I really like the way, like, he'll talk to the guys in front of him, and sometimes even go up and he'll grab them by the hips and, like, move them over or, like, tap them on the side of the butt to tell them to, reposition themselves or change their alignment. You know what I mean? So the communication is there all the way to that point to where it's physical type of communication, getting the guys realigned and stuff. And they do a good job. That's something I asked Kevin Byard yesterday because, a lot of times when you get excited, like, you may forget some of those type of things, and being in this situation where you have a lot more juice and energy, on the football field because you're actually going against a different team, that's something that could fall off. But Kevin Byard said that that's not something that they allowed to fall. The communication was still there. And you can really hear them talking before the snap. There's so much conversation going on.
TD's with us. It sounds like a solid day from the defense today, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, solid day from the defense. And to be honest with you, this is something that we should expect to see from them just week in and week out. You know what I mean? If they have a bad outing, it should be a heavy disappointment for the fans and for them, obviously, and a surprise for us.
TD's with us. 102.5, 106.3. The Game is bringing you Nashville's best coverage of Titans training camp, presented by Parman Energy, your one-stop petroleum solution. Up next, what TD wanted to see going into the Buccaneer practices and what he did or didn't see in the Buccaneer practices. We'll get to that next with TD as part of the TD Power Hour. And if you've got a text for Tehran at the end of the hour, get it in. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Tehran Davenport with us, TD Power Hour, Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
2, 3, 4, high school football is here. Join Big Joe Dubin every Friday night at 6 for the Game Blitz, presented by Apple Collision Centers.
Just a small sample of these great coaches in our area.
We'll go around the mid-state for scores and reports on all the big games.
If I'm a high school coach, I want the challenge.
The Game Blitz is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Rock and country music's hardest hitters join forces. Five Finger Death Punch. Brantley Gilbert. With special guest Corey Marks. November 16th, Bridgestone Arena. On sale this Friday, 10 a.m. at livenation.com. Five Finger Death Punch's new album, Afterlife, out Friday. Five Finger Death Punch and Brantley Gilbert, live.
When you need electronics or appliances, find great deals in-store or online at Electronic Express. Save big on favorite brands like Samsung, GE, Nintendo, iRobot, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Old School Pizza in Brentwood. Right now, get half off a $30 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals. Old School Pizza features New York style, thin crust, made fresh to order from imported Italian flour that gives a unique flavor and crunch. Check out Happy Hour every weekday afternoon from 3 to 5 for half off selected appetizers and draft beer. Have pizza the old school way at Old School Pizza in Brentwood. OldSchoolPizzaBrentwood.com.
A new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store is now open in Franklin at Watson Glen. Get ready to score up to 70% off thousands of items from your favorite athletic brands. Check out can't-miss deals for the entire family, including tees, tanks, shorts, leggings, footwear, golf apparel, and more. Plus, new styles arrive weekly, so there's always more from the best brands. Check out your new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store for the grand opening celebration, August 19th to the 21st in Franklin at Watson Glen.
Never miss a moment of the show. What is this? Check it out. Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
What else you see, Mike, over your defense today?
I would say that the first 8 plays weren't very good. They ran it 8 straight times. I don't think it was the run defense that we expect. But I think they settled down. I think they, did better in the red zone stuff. I thought it was much more competitive down there. But when they handed the ball off 8 straight plays, I didn't. That's not what I expect from our defense.
Oh, Vrabel wasn't happy about that one. That was Mike Vrabel earlier today. TD's with us for the TD Power Hour. So, TD, what did you want to go into these Buccaneer practices looking for? And what do you feel like you came out of the 2 Buccaneer practices with in terms of information now that you've seen them?
Well, I think there were a couple of things that I really was looking forward to seeing. Obviously, Christian Fulton, right, and Caleb Farley, Roger McCray, the Titans DBs going against Mike Evans, going against Chris Godwin, who I know he had the injury, but knowing that he was able to take part in 7-on-7 for the first time last week, I figured maybe there's a chance that we would see him go against the Titans DB. So that was a bit disappointing. However, what I got to take away from that is the Titans still have some work to do as far as going against some of these shorter, quicker receivers, right? Jalen Darden, Devin Tompkins, these guys. There was another guy, Geiger Senior, I forget his name. He wore number 80, but they were really good as far as, being able to get open and giving the Titans DBs a challenge. So that was something. Malik Willis is a guy I wanted to see him progress, right? And it gets to a point where, the ball has to start coming out quicker. And I know that it's a 1% each day type of process that they're dealing with him, but I wanted to see him progress as far as, giving other guys chances to make plays, trusting what he's seeing and getting rid of the football. And I guess with that, what I came out of with that is that, there's still a lot of work to do for him, but that's something we already knew.
I thought one of my takeaways was I feel like Tannehill, I remember last year in Tampa Bay, Tannehill, and there were injuries at receiver, and it was like he was trying to find his guys. Like Cam Batson was a big part of those practices of Tannehill throwing the ball. And Nick Westbrook-Akina was a guy who was kind of towards the bottom of the depth chart the year before, and he was kind of using him a little bit, and Chester Rogers and Marcus Johnson, and it was like he was kind of trying to find his guys. I feel like after these two practices, I feel like Tannehill has his guys. Phillips is one of his guys. McMath is becoming one of his guys. And Dontrell Hilliard is one of his guys. And that's to go with, obviously, Woods and Hooper. And Burks is in and out a little bit. But Tannehill does get him the football. It feels like he's kind of found his core group of guys to get the ball to. What have you seen from that?
Yeah, if you're just going pure takeaways, that's a whole different ballgame, you know. But as far as like what I was looking forward to seeing or what I gathered, that's something different. But yeah, you're 100% right. The Dontrell Hilliard part of it is something that continues to be a takeaway. And I talked to Chris Sanders after he watched like the first bit of one-on-ones. It was actually the only time they were inside. And one of the things he said was, Hilliard runs routes like a receiver, and he's right. He runs routes like a wide receiver. So I pulled Hilliard aside and asked him about that, but he said he didn't really have much receiver in his background. He just kind of laughed, but I mean, well, not laugh like it was comical, but smiled like he appreciated the compliment. So that's something that we're seeing. I think to go along with that, Austin Hooper, the effort to make him into that security blanket is definitely there. Big takeaway, though, for me is just the thirst and the desire to go down the field. That's really big with Tannehill, and you're seeing that, and that's something that, that doesn't happen unless the quarterback's feeling himself. You know what I mean? So it's a good sign for the Titans that he's willing to do that, and Racey McMath has really emerged. Now what he needs to do after he had those 3 or 4 really good practices and then the big catch in the game, he has to put a halt to the drops that he's had recently, right? You got to build off of what he did well, and that's something that I'm sure he'll look to do on game day on Saturday.
TD, what did you make of the offensive line? I tried to watch it today with Petit Frere at right tackle, but they had Jordan Roos playing right guard because Nate Davis was out. I didn't see much of Radence yesterday. Yeah. It's hard in these practices to track the football and also see who's making the catch and see unless some guy just gets smoked off the edge. I mean, these are real defensive linemen. What are you kind of making of the tackle battle and the offensive line as a whole?
Yeah, you're so right when you say it's hard to see. Here's the thing, man. I really love getting to cover joint practices, but honestly, when they're over, I'm just like, ooh, thank goodness, because I'm someone that hates to miss anything, right?
Oh yeah.
And you just today, I knew you wanted me to, talk about the defense. So I said, okay, I'm going to focus on the defense, but I hate the fact that I missed, some of the catches that Traylon Burks missed the interception that Malik Willis threw. So I don't know exactly what happened there. You know what I mean? So you hate that stuff. But, you work with what you have. So that being said, I watched the offense yesterday. Radence had some good reps, especially in run blocking. He had some good reps where he was able to dig, and he actually sprung Dontrell Hilliard for a nice run. Allowed him to get to the outside, but he had a very tough rep, and it happens to everyone. I'm going to preface it with that. Akeem Hicks, listen, this is
Caroline talked about this yesterday.
Hey, listen, man, let me tell you something. Hicks is known for just his brute strength, and they had this guy at the 5 technique. He came off the edge, and he just forklift Radence back to Tannehill, and they both fell right by Tannehill, and it was bad. Tannehill had to rush the throw. That was the rep where it was you can't have that. But that's strength against area of improvement. Hicks is known for his strength. Radence has worked and made strides to get stronger, so that's going to happen. But for the most part, I think Dylan Radence played fine.
I think it was interesting that we haven't seen the Titans add with all these cuts that have happened. Now, again, they cut every team had to go from 90 to 85. So it's not like there's a lot of valuable guys getting cut, but I was surprised that the Titans didn't bring in any tackles because if they were really, really, really desperate at the tackle position, TD, they would have just been running through tackles every single day. And so that they haven't done that might be a good sign for Radens and Petit Frere.
Yeah, I think it is a good sign for them. But as you mentioned, this is like the early cuts. So chances are a good amount of these guys that were released recently, they're going to just kind of be on the shelf until a team has an injury or down the line. You know how that goes where you add a guy later. So I think that's the case. But I feel they like the depth that they have as well. You know, Jalen McKenzie is a guy that they've worked at both sides, and he's an undrafted free agent. I'm surprised he didn't get drafted out of USC, but he's someone, and you still have, you know, some of those guys in the mix. But getting a veteran, you know, Dennis Kelly is an option. I heard you earlier this week mention Morgan Moses, and we share a brain on that one. That was one that, you know, you kind of let go. That would have been a solid signing and solidified that position. But they felt that, you know, Radens was a guy that they, you know, they used a second-round pick and they want him to win that job. And then now you got a third-round pick in Petit Frere who's in that mix too. And I think those guys are going to compete.
It's funny you talk about missing things in practice. 3 years ago when the Patriots came here, I was kind of bouncing between the two fields, offense, defense, just kind of seeing whatever I could see. And the GM was obviously on the show, and he said, oh, no, I just go watch offense one day, then I go watch defense the next day. And I was like, man, that sounds like a genius plan. And so I did that last year in Tampa, and I did that this year. And honestly, it's great because I feel comfortable with what I saw in the 2 days about the offense, and I feel comfortable about what I saw in the defense. But then it's like the whole other half of the team I didn't get to see, so I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't get – yeah, it's basically one of those, you know, pick your poison, you know. Which pig is prettier? That's really what it comes down to.
Well, the Titans like you more than they like me, so maybe they'll let you get in on the practice tape at some point here. And
I wish.
And then that way we can kind of have a little bit of thought on that. TD's with us, 615-737-1025. Text your questions in for TD. We'll get to them at the bottom of the hour, as we always do on the TD Power Hour. Coming up next, the young guys. We know Jeffrey Simmons is good. We know Tannehill's going to be the quarterback. We know Austin Hooper and Taylor Lewan are going to start. The young guys looking for jobs, not just the rookies, but definitely a lot about the rookies. The young guys that are going to make an impact on this team. How did they look with the real competition against Tampa Bay? We'll get TD's thoughts on it coming up next. It is the TD Power Hour here on the program, here on Stillman & Company. Tune in for Sounds Baseball tonight at 6:05 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds are on the road taking on Jacksonville, the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by 312 Pizza and Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Smashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey football fans, Patrick Mahomes here, and I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Start the second half of the baseball season the right way and turn Ks into cash and big hits into big wins with FanDuel. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just sign up with the promo code JGM, place your first bet, and FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. Right now, I got to love the Mets to choke down the second half of the season. The Braves are going to get them. That's my gut. That's how I feel. Not bummer here. FanDuel's got great promotions every day. It's a safe and secure app, and you get paid fast. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with the promo code JGM to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line. 1-800-889-9789.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a beach day. And with 35 miles of pristine, sugary white sand, it's easy to see why. So let's grab the beach bag, the beach ball, and the boogie board. Let's pack the suits, the sunscreen, and the sunglasses. Take a dip in the emerald green waters of the Gulf. And then take in a breathtaking sunset at the end of the day. So let's make a beeline to the beach. And let's shine. Plan your next getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
With your home value up again, you are sitting on a pile of money. So don't let it sit there. Use it. Willie Donick here for my friends once again at Loan Pronto. Introducing Loan Pronto's Equity Line of Credit program. You don't have to refinance, but you can access up to 97% of your home's value. Get cash now to pay off all your credit cards or do that home improvement project. Get your down payment for a new home or stash away for a safety net. You can get $50,000, even $100,000 or more out of your home. And the payments are crazy low. Think what you could do with $100,000 right now. Loan Pronto makes unlocking your equity easy, and they can probably even waive the appraisal. Don't just let all that home equity pile up. Turn your house into an ATM machine and get the cash you need. Call Loan Pronto now, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN. Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman & Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming. Get the extra point, no problem. And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, I'm Gary Smith, head coach of Nashville SC. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
How do you have a really big bounce back day? And it sounded like he said he watched film, he knew what he did wrong. He came out and intent to set it straight. Did you see that?
Absolutely. You know, from what I saw, I think he was, again, he comes in with a great attitude every single day. I mean, he's had a long rehab, and he spent a lot of time in this building in the off season. And he wants to be good. He wants to help us. He wants to define a role for himself. And I think he was exhausted. I think he was excited about coming out here and practicing. And, I mean, early on in practice, he looked like he was worn out. And, we've talked about that to our entire team about making sure that, we're not so anxious about the practice or the game that's going to happen. We have to be able to stay neutral, stay in the moment, and then execute when the ball snaps. We have to save every ounce of energy that we have for the play.
That was Vrabel today on Caleb Farley, and it does sound like Vrabel loves Caleb Farley. At least loves the attitude, loves the kind of guy he is. TD's with us for the TD Power Hour, and you would say that you would agree with Vrabel. Today was a bounce-back day for Caleb Farley, who did intercept Blaine Gabbert at the end of 2 minutes on a basically Hail Mary chuck it to the end zone. Farley did have a nice interception. But would you agree with Vrabel about Farley's bounce back today?
Yeah, it was important that he did that, and I'm glad that he was able to have a good day today. And he just seemed to always be around the football. And I'll add to your breakups that you mentioned. There was another one where they tried to get him. He got beat at the line of scrimmage. He didn't panic. He recovered, and he ran with the receiver across the field, and he used that length. He was able to get that inside arm down. Inside arm in there and knock the ball down on a slant route. So, yeah, I absolutely agree that it was good that he had that day today.
So we'll all see the preseason games because they're on TV, but the fans don't get to see the practices, especially the ones like these, and the young guys that are going to be looking to kind of break in and make an impact for this team. Let's start with the corners, where it's not just the veterans, but a guy, or not just the rookies this year, but a guy like Molden, for instance, who's a second-year guy, and Farley, who's a second-year guy. Add in McCreary and Fulton. What do you see out of those young guys and what the Titans like about them and maybe where they can improve?
I think the main thing that we're seeing is just the attitude. All these guys, they seem to have a really positive attitude, a desire to be great, and that's something first and foremost you want as a coach. So that's what the staff is definitely consistently saying about those guys. So you have that, but then the other thing is just the ability to self-awareness, to recognize what they were doing wrong, right? We talked to Caleb Farley after practice today, and he mentioned the things that he was doing wrong. That's a good thing. And for Elijah Molden, though, the main thing is just being able to be out there consistently. That's something that he has to, get together because he's dealing with, a few things that have kept him off the field from time to time.
So if Roger McCreary had Caleb Farley's body, Roger McCreary would probably have been the first corner taken in the draft. But he has been outstanding in training camp. They are kind of duking it out. The Titans put it on their unofficial depth chart for that starting outside corner position. How do you see that battle going right now?
Yeah, I think it's back and forth. I mean, you look at the end of that hurry-up period, they both had a breakup, if you remember, on that far corner end zone. And the thing that I liked about it is they came together and congratulated each other. So they're competing, but it's not like, a competition where they want each other to fail. They just are going to push each other to do better. And I think, what you're seeing, honestly, in this week, I feel like the advantage was more towards McCreary because he is a more squatty type of corner. So these little receivers that they're facing, I think he had the advantage there as far as the matchup's concerned. But it's really back and forth. And then the other thing is they use so much nickel. And with Elijah Molden, not being available from time to time, that allows them to get both of those guys on the field anyway, when they use nickel.
We know about Simmons and Autry. What about the young guys on the defensive line? I know DeMarcus Walker's not a young guy, but he's kind of a new guy. And then Naquan Jones had a good season last year. They got a lot of young defensive linemen, TD.
Yeah, they really do. They have a lot of young, and the depth is there. That's the good part of it. Naquan Jones had a tough rep. He went back to back against number 60 on the Bucks, their backup center. I have to look at this roster here to get his name, but first rep he got pancaked, but he was able to respond back, and he beat the guy Nick Leverett, who was a guard, but he was working some in this drill at center. And then he was able to block him on the third rep. So it was back and forth. But I think Naquan, he's a guy, he had a play today, getting in the backfield quickly. And they just have like this type that they like, where it's not, like the big 340-pounder. It's a guy 310, 320, like right in that ballpark that just is quick on his feet, and he's able to, clog that middle from that perspective. So I think that group of guys are good. Now, the one Murchison has been, someone that I feel like he's kind of fallen out of favor as far as like the top end of that depth chart.
So I thought Kyle Phillips has come along well in camp. Today was the day where I thought, oh, look at Kyle Phillips. And
yeah,
Tannehill went right to him in the 2-minute drill, 3 throws in a row. The one-on-ones,
yep.
Kyle Phillips was absolutely dogging. I mean, he made Logan Ryan look silly. And look, let's be honest about Logan Ryan. At this point in Logan's career, he's not the same Logan who was here. But Kyle Phillips, whether it was Woodside throwing the ball in the one-on-ones, Tannehill throwing the ball in the one-on-ones, Phillips, Tannehill loves going to him. He's everything about that slot receiver that we would want a slot receiver to be. He is doing that right now. TD, I think that Kyle Phillips, today was a day for me where I felt like he put it all together. What have you seen?
Yeah, I think he's had it all together for quite some time, and that, in my opinion, is why Tannehill is so trusting of him. Mm-hmm. And you look, this is a guy who he always in the right spot. Like, you rarely see him not be. We saw it once, right? It was early, well, maybe 2 weeks ago. We saw it where he was supposed to run a certain route out of the slot, and he didn't run the right route. Tannehill yelled at him, but guess what happened a few periods later in the practice. He went right back to him on basically the same route concept. And it was a big catch to help set up one of those drives, where they were going down the field, needing a field goal. He's put it together, and he has all of the traits that you want, right? He's tough. He is willing to block, but most importantly, the quickness, the shiftiness. He's like a crab. He can run forward and sideways the same speed. And then his hands are consistent also. That's the big thing. So you really feel confident throwing him the football, and I think that's what Tannehill really loves about him.
What do you think about Malik after the preseason game Thursday and what he's done in practice since then and what he did in the practices with the Buccaneers?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned this because, we had a text back and forth. I could not disagree with you more when you say that you don't see him, that he won't be a starter in 3 years.
I just said if I had to bet on it, one or the other, I would bet not. But it's hard to know if he's going to do the things that he has to do in order to be successful.
He's not the first quarterback that has had to make adjustments in coming to the NFL. And in fact, as a Titans fan, I know you saw it yourself and Steve McNair. And I'm not comparing like attributes and everything. I'm just talking about the rawness to becoming developed. Like there's a difference.
Sure, Josh Allen did it. I mean, the Josh Allen in 2018 and the Josh Allen last year, not the same guy.
Right. So it can be done. And in Josh Allen's case, that was improving accuracy, which somehow happened, and that doesn't usually happen. So I think with Willis, it's a matter of, and today I was a bit disappointed because I thought that he would have a better 2-minute period today, knowing that he saw a lot of the similar coverage concepts and everything, the defensive concepts that he saw that yesterday. And so I figured bringing it to today, he'll be able to make it happen. But you still have the ball being held on too long. And that's something that, you can't do that. You have to get it out. Give your guys opportunities to make plays. And that's the main problem with him. But that is okay because it's just a matter of getting him to that comfort level. And the only thing that's going to get him there is the reps. So, I mean, it's not like a physical thing that's limiting him. You know what I mean? He just has to put it together mentally and be able to, trust what he sees and get rid of the football. And then on top of that, it is a matter of getting his feet in position. Like after he sees it, he has to get his feet in position so that way he could get a good ball off. Because when he throws the football, for the most part, give or take, he had the bad throw against the Ravens, that should have been picked off, right? And we've seen some bad throws in camp. But overall, it's not the ability as far as like physical. It's a matter of him putting it together and understanding what he's seeing. That to me tells me like, hey, look, this guy can be a quarterback. You just have to get that part of it together.
Here's where I feel like Malik is right now. I feel like Malik is somebody who's just learning how to drive a car, and like the say changing lanes on the interstate, which isn't that hard to do. But the first time that I ever changed lanes on the interstate, I was incredibly nervous about it. Looking over, blind spot, mirrors. Did I really trust the mirrors? How close were they? How close? I feel like that's how Malik is in the pocket, and that's why he holds on to the ball so long, is because he knows that he's supposed to kind of see it before it happens, but he isn't sure if he sees it before it happens. And the other thing with Malik is I love the fastball, TD, but somebody's got to teach him how to throw a changeup because sometimes he throws like 99-mile-an-hour heaters right there when like maybe just a little touch on the football would be nice.
Well, I mean, I've seen him throw with touch, actually. And even, there was one where I said, oh, yeah, you might want to take a little bit off of it. And that's when he hit Racey McMath on the slant. And it, like, it hit him, like, right between the 1 and the 3. And it made a sound. I was like, yeah.
They had to go get the stretcher out for Racey after that.
Yeah. He probably had a little X on his chest after that, from the ball hitting it. But, no, all jokes aside, I think he's been okay with touch. Like, he's shown good touch, but it's just a matter of, like I said, just that processing part of it. And it's going to come. It just is going to take some time.
To your phones for TD, 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We're right to those next. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
The mostly sunny skies set to continue through the afternoon with no rain chance in sight today. Highs in the upper 80s, a few low 90s for the metro areas. Overnight, partly cloudy skies, temperatures dropping into the upper 60s. For Fox 17, I'm Code Red meteorologist Zach Covey.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Their hiring tool lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews all in one place. Learn more at Indeed.com/credit.
At Cordell & Cordell, we focus on representing men in domestic relations cases.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
We recognize that our clients are going through perhaps the toughest time they will ever go through. We understand that everything that's important to them is on the table. Their assets, the role in their children's lives. That's an immense responsibility that our clients entrust us with, and we take that very seriously. We've been trained to do that. We've helped thousands of clients before, and it's our hope that you'll choose to entrust us with what's most important to you.
The attorneys at Cordell & Cordell work to help men maximize their role in their children's lives. Contact the domestic litigation firm of Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Nashville area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 615-457-8700. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Offices in Nashville, Franklin, Murfreesboro, and Gallatin. Cordell & Cordell, 810 Crescent Center Drive, Suite 160, Franklin, Tennessee, 37067.
We're Saia LTL Freight. For nearly a century, our team has been committed to driving business forward. From Lady Liberty to the Golden Gate, Superstore to Corner Store. We go that extra mile, expanding our team to better serve you. So trust that when you partner with Saia, we take every delivery personally. Visit Saia.com for all your shipping needs. That's SAIA.com.
A new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store is now open in Franklin at Watson Glen. Get ready to score up to 70% off thousands of items from your favorite athletic brands. Check out can't-miss deals for the entire family, including tees, tanks, shorts, leggings, footwear, golf apparel, and more. Plus, new styles arrive weekly, so there's always more from the best brands. Check out your new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store for the grand opening celebration, August 19th to the 21st in Franklin at Watson Glen.
Chase McCabe.
You get a little fired up for that. Pads start popping.
Willie Donick.
And you're just thinking, this guy's unbelievable.
And Derek Mason.
Now I got to run a little bit faster so I don't get hit.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
How do you like the intensity of the practices as a whole and guys maybe keeping their composure until a little bit of a dust up at the end?
I think we should be able to not do dumb that hurts the team, and I would say that that's an example of that. You guys are all writing about what that is. That's what that would be.
There you go. That was on the little dust-up between Simmons and Fournette. TD on the TD Power Hour. Your questions, phone line driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com, 615-737-1025. Scott in Hendersonville says, TD, let's hear about the Simmons-Fournette fight.
I mean, there's not really much to make out of it. It was after the play. They had some words, and then it looked like Fournette kind of swung at him first, and then his helmet came off, and Simmons was swinging at him. But no, before his helmet came off, Simmons connected on the helmet a couple times, and then Mike Vrabel got in there to break it up. One of the other linemen, I think it was Luke Gadecki, who Simmons had gotten into it with earlier, came over and they had a little shoving match, but it was broken up quickly.
I mean, I turned to you and Nate Washington, and I was like, 2.5 out of 10, only because Fournette's helmet came off.
Yeah, it wasn't anything to call Ring Kings and sell a fight about or anything like that.
Although seeing Vrabel in the very middle of it, honestly, I kind of wanted to get in on it, even though I would have never survived. Texter says, TD, how has Tannehill and the wide receivers handled the choice routes? I'm guessing Hooper and Phillips will be the choice route specialists. Woods and Burks will have set routes. Can Burks take that dig route over the middle that AJ was so good at?
Yeah, I think Burks can. I mean, that's what you saw him do a lot at Arkansas, and they still have that in the playbook. In fact, that was actually the play that got Willis yanked, and it wasn't Burks on that route, that AJ route. It was actually Des Fitzpatrick, but Burks was running the seam and he was open. So yeah, they're still going to look to do that. As far as the choice routes are concerned, that's something you're seeing a lot of in these third down situations with Kyle Phillips, and even why stick for Austin Hooper. And the thing you got to remember, Tannehill is one of those. He likes to work the middle of the field. So Austin Hooper, don't be surprised. I'm talking 70 to 80 catches. I wouldn't be surprised if he has that.
Texter asks, without knowing specific names, how many players do you think the Titans will keep at most positions? Is there a position that they might keep more players than typical, or a position that they might keep fewer?
I could see running back with 4 backs plus Torrey Carter, the fullback. I could see that. Trenton Cannon, he didn't practice today, but I think they're going to keep him on the roster and, special teams aspect. And obviously Hilliard, Haskins, and Henry. So running back would be the one. As far as keeping less, that's a good question. I think tight end. I think they keep 3 tight ends. So that's something. I mean, teams don't frequently keep a roster 3 quarterbacks. So that's another area that you could mention as well.
Michael from Missouri says, it seems like McCreary can play outside or inside, so if he beats out Farley, does Farley possibly kick inside, or do you think they'd want to stick with Molden there?
Yeah, I think they stick with Molden inside. If McCreary were to beat out Farley, it'll still be a rotation. And it is one of those things where, the guy you announce as a starter, it's cool for him to get announced as a starter, but I think the playing time is going to be pretty, until it starts to sell out a little more, I think it'll be pretty equal. In fact, they may end up announcing 3 outside corners and a nickel pregame.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was kind of arguing this morning with Joe on the morning show about the corners, about McCreary versus Farley, and I'm like, they're all going to play. Yes. Farley's going to play, McCreary's going to play, Molden's going to play, Fulton's going to play, Lonnie Johnson Jr. might play. They're all going to play this year.
Yeah, and Lonnie Johnson Jr., you got to remember, he does a lot of safety work too. So that is an advantage for him. And same thing with Kalu. You get corner and safety. So you got a good amount of guys right there that could play both. And I think, you're right. And you got to mention Shakur Brown. You talk about younger players.
Had a good camp.
Yeah, he had a good. Now it was Shaheem Carter yesterday that had that breakup that led to the Lonnie Johnson interception. But Brown has gotten some breakups, and he's been all over the place. He got an interception on Willis. When Phillips or Brandon Lewis slipped. So he's another guy to mention.
Texter asks, what does TD think of the backup quarterback situation?
Well, it depends on what you want, right? I think the backup quarterback situation, if you want a guy that can come in and execute the offense and, do some things for you in a pinch, I think Woodside is that guy. But if you want, the backup that is more developmental, then obviously that's Willis. So it depends on what you want. I think, in this situation, they're going to keep all 3 of those guys, and they trust Woodside. They like him, and I would imagine they feel they could win a game or two. They feel they could win a game or two with him, under center.
Texter asks the question of TD, what did you make of Jim Irsay's comments about the Titans at Colts camp saying that the whole goal is about beating Tennessee?
Well, I mean, I think it's one of those things where you get your butt whooped enough times, that's your thought process. And it's funny how the tables have turned, right? Because I remember having that very conversation with Jarrell Casey, and he was saying, you know, we're tired of them beating us. So it is what it is. It's what we're dealing with lately. And I mean, it's interesting that the owner is saying that, but I mean, I don't think it's any extra bulletin board material or anything like that.
I do want your question about this because we were texting about this on Monday. What did you think of the horribleness of the Colts starting offense without Jonathan Taylor against the Bills' second stringers on Saturday?
Yeah, it's not good. It's definitely not good. Although I did hear Stephen Holder said that Jelani Woods had a heck of a day today. And, you know, that was a tight end that I really liked. So you do have options there. Like once they start finding ways to work their twin towers, both 6'7", Mo Ali Cox and Jelani Woods, once they find ways to work them. But here's the fact of the matter. They have one receiver that, you know, right now is proven. And he's not all the way proven. And that's Michael Pittman, you know, Jr. So they have to find a way to get some type of threat from these other guys. And I think you look at some of them, the young fella they got out of Cincinnati, he's eventually going to be good. He's going to be good, but it's just going to take some time for him. But somebody has to emerge opposite of Pittman.
Texter asks, TD, did you see the same Tannehill you've seen in training camp in these practices against the Buccaneers?
Yeah, I have. You know, still seeing him very demonstrative of what he wants. You know, a lot of communication after the plays. He's going all over with the football. He does have his guys that, you know, Kyle Phillips, Austin Hooper, that he's continuing to rely on. I also saw a different Tannehill, and I talked to Robert Woods about it after practice today. It was a play yesterday where he scrambled to his left, and he threw it back across his body to Robert Woods, who was going from the left to the right. But Woods was able to kind of free up, find a window, right, on the off-schedule play and be able to be there for his quarterback. And he said that that's something that, you know, comes just from having been in that situation so many times, but also the conversations that they have, right, to be able to connect on that. So I've seen the Tannehill, yes, I have. But even the same guy pushing the ball down the field, but we actually saw an extension of that with him going off schedule, like I mentioned.
TD, it's funny you say that. I had somebody who's, I'll just put it like this, opinion I trust a lot, who told me that play, and that's why I asked Tannehill yesterday about how hard that play was to make, rolling in 2 minutes, then throwing across his body to Woods 15, 20 yards down the field. I had somebody whose opinion I really trust say, that is a hard throw to make. That is a hard play.
It really is.
In a 2-minute drill with everything going on to be able to do that. TD, what we got on Talking with TD this weekend?
Yeah, well, Emory Hunt, football game plan, CBS Sports. He was here in town, so we talked some shop on about Roger McCreary. He had a funny story about Roger McCreary and Smoke Monday. You'll definitely like that. It was a time where Jahan Dotson beat Auburn deep, and it wasn't McCreary's fault. But you'll tune in to get that. It's a funny story. But we talked some Malik Willis too, and obviously Chris Sanders. We got some of his feedback when he was out there, and I unloaded the notebook a little bit as well. So that's what we got in those segments.
Looking forward to it. Teron Davenport, as always, joining us on the program. TD, appreciate you. We'll talk soon.
For sure. Take care. Appreciate it.
Yep, Teron Davenport joining us on the program as always. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Let's give away something. Dierks Bentley tickets. Be caller 5 right now at 615-737-1025, and you're going to see Dierks Bentley at Bridgestone Arena on Friday, August 26th. Good luck to you there. Coming up next, I know what's going to happen in college football, but I also don't know. We'll explain because it's going to be big right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Heads up. 106.3 FM is a new way to hear 102.5 The Game from downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and on I-24 to Murfreesboro.
Make sure you have that preset on your radio dial.
We're making it even easier to listen to Nashville's best sports talk.
Because we have a great show planned for you today.
Tune in to 106.3.
That's what makes this team better.
And hear the difference.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen. Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with three-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Are you ready for this?
You've never seen the PBR like this. Buckle up for the ultimate weekend in Western sports as the PBR Team Series invades Nashville's Bridgestone Arena, August 19th through the 21st. 8 teams, 3 days, 1 champion. Don't miss your chance to watch history as it's made. Get your tickets now at PBR.com or Ticketmaster.com. PBR Team Series. Bull riding will never be the same.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit 1 per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
I'm Cindy Mae Johnson from Mountaintop Media in the beautiful Appalachian Mountains of eastern Kentucky, where flash floods have taken lives and destroyed homes. The news can never accurately convey how much help is needed. If you're willing or able to help, even a little, please donate to the East Kentucky Dream Center on Venmo or at ekdc.info. Thank you for your prayers and support.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne,
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman Company, Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushes.
Awesome Game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Caroline out today. She was on the midday show today with Big Joe and did a fantastic job. So, big college football news today, although it's not big news if you've been paying attention. The big news today was that the Big Ten has officially announced their TV contract deals where CBS will get the second or third best game of the week at 3:30, Fox gets the best game at noon, and then NBC will get the second or third best game at night. It's going to be about $1.1 billion per year that each school will make somewhere in the ballpark of $70 to $100 million. And the $7 billion contract that the Big Ten just announced could be, with possible expansion, Notre Dame, could be up to $10 billion. And I don't know why people today were like, wow. I'm like, what are you talking about? That was we've been talking about that for a couple of weeks now. But there's 3 news items about college sports. This is one of them. Another one is Greg Sankey talked to Pat Forty over the weekend, Sports Illustrated, SEC commissioner, and talked about kind of totally changing the NCAA basketball tournament, which totally slid underneath everybody's radar because there was so much NFL news with the preseason. But the basketball tournament might be in serious trouble. which is a big news item. And then yesterday, all of the powers that be with the college football playoff discussed breaking away from the NCAA. Now, let me tell you all something. It was announced, Pete Thamel broke the news yesterday, that the college football playoff executive committee, that they discussed breaking away from the NCAA on a Zoom call. Don't think that this is the first time that they've had that discussion. Don't think that they haven't already made up their mind. In fact, let's just go back a month and a half. Kirk Herbstreit, as soon as the news that USC and UCLA were headed to the Big Ten, Kirk Herbstreit was breaking down the news. And we talked about this cut on the air at the time. And I asked Caroline, I said, is Herbstreit telling us something, or is he thinking something's going to happen? And Joel Klatt, who's also the lead broadcaster for Fox, he said something very similarly to this. And we both said, no, he's telling us this is going to happen. This was at the beginning of July from Kirk Herbstreit with the news of USC and UCLA.
Wait until players become employees. I think that's going to be part of this, too. I think this world that I'm describing is going to break away from the NCAA. I think they'll create their own governing body. They'll put a commissioner that's in charge of it. They'll probably do a CBA with the players, essentially making them employees. And then they'll negotiate a deal with them to avoid the antitrust laws. Negotiate a deal. Here's our deal. We'll pay you a salary your freshman year. We'll pay you a salary your sophomore year, junior year, senior year. And the longer you stay, the more money you make. And it's professional football.
Kirk Herbstreit in July, early July, tells Mad Dog Russo on Mad Dog Radio, yeah, they're going to break away. Like, it's going to break away from the NCAA. They're going to come up with a CBA. They're going to do something. Joel Klatt kind of said the same thing. They already knew. They already knew. Greg Sankey to Caroline at SEC Media Days last month. Greg Sankey already knew they were moving on from the NCAA.
One of the realities we're dealing with right now is an evaluation of the role of the National Association, the role of the NCAA. And we're talking about rules decentralization, where maybe not everything runs through Indianapolis. I think we have higher expectations for supporting student-athlete participation in championships even after realignment. So the fact this realignment is happening, I don't think detracts from national championship. It probably makes, in some conferences, an even greater level of intensity because that presets the opportunity for national championship access.
Greg Sankey knew. They already talked about it. This idea that we're doing right now, that they might break away from the NCAA, they already knew. And here's the reality of college sports. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I have no idea what they're going to do with the college football playoff. I have no idea what's going to become of the ACC or the Big 12 or the Pac-12. I can speculate on it. But what I can tell you is this. The college athletics that you knew, that I knew, that we all knew, it's over. It's completely over. The basketball tournament, it's over. We might have a couple of good basketball tournaments, but Greg Sankey's already telling Sports Illustrated, I'd like a basketball tournament where instead of the little guys making the tournament, let's just put in more SEC teams. By the way, anybody miss Texas A&M in the basketball tournament last year? I didn't. I'm glad we got to see St. Peter's in the basketball tournament, but they don't care. And when it comes to all the money, and it comes to what do these conferences want, and where would they look to expand, and they don't care anymore about cable television breakdowns of how many viewers they can get in a certain market to pay them a subscriber fee for cable. They don't care about that anymore. They care about what games will draw the biggest ratings so they can get the most money out of CBS and NBC and put games on their streaming platforms, and that's all they care about now. And they knew. They knew. And so what's next? We went back to this where a couple years ago Paul Feinbaum said, I want to say it was last June when A&M or when Texas and Oklahoma decided to go to the SEC, and it might have been before then. It might have been when they started talking about expanding the playoff last June. And Paul Feinbaum said they're going to try to be like the NFL. They're going to try to have 16 teams. They're going to try to have these super conferences and these at-large bids. And all they're trying to do is maximize the money. And they don't care about what it's going to do to college, what it's going to do to college football and everything else. All they care about is making more money. And he said that last June 21st. They knew. So I can't tell you what's going to happen to the baseball tournament. And I can't tell you what's going to happen to the basketball tournament. And I can't tell you if these players are going to end up becoming employees and sign a CBA and get a crack at the TV money, which if I were these schools, I wouldn't want to give up. I can't tell you what's next for college sports. I can't tell you if it's going to be an 18 playoff and it's just SEC and Big Ten. I can't tell you if one of these schools is going to break the ACC grant of rights and that's going to lead to a complete free-for-all. I can't tell you if the Pac-12 and the Big 12 are dead, though I think they kind of are. All I can tell you is what we know of college sports. It's over. The NCAA, it's over. The idea that they'll break away in football, but they'll still actually care about the NCAA and the other sports, there's no chance of that. Absolutely, positively, no chance. So I don't know what's next. It's almost like a buckle up. I don't know what the Pac-12 and the Big 12 are going to do. I don't know how the ACC, which has a deal for ESPN that might be the single most undervalued property in sports right now. I have no idea what they're going to do next. I have no idea what Notre Dame is going to do next. I just know this. Everything that we know and love about college sports, it's gone. It's over. This era of college athletics, it's over. And it has nothing to do, let me be very clear about this. It has nothing to do with the players. It has nothing to do with transfer portal. It has nothing to do with NIL. It has everything to do with the TV networks, the conferences trying to enrich themselves and just paying themselves, and the coaches more, and building better facilities and everything else. That's what this is about. UCLA said, we could not run our operation if we didn't go to the Big Ten. Really? You've been running UCLA's operation for 100 years. You couldn't run it for 101? Probably not. It's all about the money. And as I've said, by and large, I've said this the entire time. Whatever you do to college athletics, paying the players, I don't care about that. Whatever you do, don't ruin it for us sitting on our couches on Saturdays wanting to watch games. Don't ruin it for us when it comes to the NCAA basketball tournament. Don't ruin it for us, but I think they're going to. 615-737-1025 will get your reaction. Trevor will join us later this hour, Trevor Maddich. And I got to tell you, he might know what's next because he's at ESPN, and they're pushing this. I don't know what's next. I do not know what's next in college sports. I don't know what's next in college football. I know this. The third best Big Ten game of the week is going to be on NBC or CBS in essentially that Saturday primetime role. And I don't know if those games are going to be any good, but they're getting paid for it. And think about this. Oh, my God, this is the best part. CBS would not pay $300 million for the CBS Game of the Week at 3:30 in the SEC 2 years ago. Not 10 years ago. 2 years ago, they wouldn't pay that. Now CBS is paying $330 million for the second and third best Big Ten game every week. Think about how stupid that is. And it's not like CBS didn't learn their lesson when they lost the NFC package, which means Dallas, San Francisco, Green Bay, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, Chicago. They lost the NFC package to Fox because they got too cheap, and then they had to pay everything to get the AFC package a couple years later. It's like they didn't even learn their lesson. Unbelievable. 615-737-1025. Your reaction, 615-737-1025. Here's the kicker to the news today about everything. There's one big shoe left to fall. And on top of it, I don't want them to do this, but I am convinced they're going to do it. We'll get to that coming up next. Right here, Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 The Game. Let me tell everybody out there about how we're your home for NASCAR. Tune in this Sunday at 1 o'clock for the Go Bowling at the Glen. Also, join Chase McCabe every Sunday morning at 8 for Chase and Checkers as he talks to the drivers and gets you set for race weekend. NASCAR on 1025 and 1063 The Game, presented by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
The Sports Talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic every Saturday morning at 9.
I've got my extra large coffee.
As she talks about the big stories of the week.
Predators news, the Tennessee Titans.
And looks ahead to the weekend.
Oh, I'm so excited.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Staples has everything you need for school at prices that won't hold you back. Don't send your kids back to school. Send them forward at Staples, the working and learning store.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way, but if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have the best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Pro Football Hall of Famer and 3-time champion. Trust me, I know about joint pain.
Pro Football's all-time leading rusher Emmitt Smith talks about chronic joint pain and exciting new regenerative treatments from QC Kinetics.
I know what it's like to fight through pain, but now, you and I, we have help. QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced, all-natural regenerative medicine that can give you lasting relief with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Do you suffer with constant pain from arthritis or injury? Pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or lower back? Don't assume steroids, pain meds, and surgery are your only options. Regenerative, restorative, natural solutions are now available.
Don't let your joint pain keep you from doing the things you love.
Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation and learn how regenerative medicine can repair and restore damaged joint tissue.
Make the call to QC Kinetics. Tell them Emmitt Smith sent you.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
A new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store is now open in Franklin at Watson Glen. Get ready to score up to 70% off thousands of items from your favorite athletic brands. Check out can't-miss deals for the entire family, including tees, tanks, shorts, leggings, footwear, golf apparel, and more. Plus, new styles arrive weekly, so there's always more from the best brands. Check out your new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store for the grand opening celebration, August 19th to the 21st in Franklin at Watson Glen.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching a game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
And in terms of the conversation of conference realignment, we focus so much on football because football is king, but there are also repercussions in other areas as well. In terms of conference realignment, do you think that would eventually be the end of the NCAA tournament or a bad thing for the NCAA basketball tournament?
I don't think so. I don't think one predicts the other. So in other words, the alignment of conferences shifting, which has happened over time, has still facilitated highly attended, highly viewed, highly desired national championship events. And even as movement continues, the possibility to have that same kind of interest, support, and presence for national championships remains.
That was Greg Sankey on with Caroline at SEC Media Days. Great question by Caroline. So with all this expanding, you guys are already going to ruin football, that's fine. But are you going to ruin basketball too? Because let me say this. Who cares? I know that this big $7 billion TV deal the Big Ten did today with CBS, I know that it includes we're going to get the women's basketball game on CBS. You all know I love women's basketball. You all know I grew up in women's basketball. Does any of us care about putting the women's basketball Big Ten championship game on TV? No. What we do care about are the things that we want to watch on TV. We want to watch the NCAA basketball tournament. We don't care about the regular season. We honestly, unless we have our own team that's in it, we don't really care about the conference tournaments, but we want to watch the NCAA basketball tournament. And between these massive TV contracts and all the money that they're extrapolating from those, and how conference realignment is throwing everything out of whack, and between the fact that the college football playoff power brokers have now let it be known that they're discussing breaking away from the NCAA publicly. Again, Pete Thamel reported it yesterday that they had a Zoom Monday to discuss the possibility. Kirk Herbstreit said a month ago that's what was going to happen. Kirk probably knows, guys. So while now that's out there, and Greg Sankey is telling Pat Forty at Sports Illustrated they want to extend expand the NCAA basketball tournament. They're going to ruin the tournament, and we actually care about that. Tom texted into the text line. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, by the way. Tom texted into the text line and said, none of this matters as long as we get to watch football. We always had football. We always had it. I don't know, what it'll be as far as there'll be a game on. There's always college football on. Now, they'll expand the playoff. Well, does that make the conference championship games better or worse? I don't know. Because if it's all going to be SEC and Big Ten teams, and the ACC grant of rights deal is going to get broken up, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not, and they probably don't know if that's going to happen or not. Or Big Ten or Notre Dame joins the Big Ten, and all of a sudden it's all Big Ten and SEC. Then who cares who wins the SEC conference championship? Because all those teams will go into the college football playoff anyway. I don't know the answer to that, but it's probably going to screw up college football how we like it now. But that'll be fine. We'll still watch the games, whatever. If the basketball tournament is either watered down with too many teams, and it's, instead of 68, we need to have 76 teams in the basketball tournament, that's going to suck. Just like how baseball expands their playoffs every 10 years, and every 10 years it gets worse. That's going to suck. And I've said this so many times. When it comes to whatever's going on in college athletics. Internally, college athletics has been broken for many years. The idea of getting the free labor of the players and them not being allowed to have a hot dog because of it. Oh, where'd you get that haircut? Did you pay for that haircut, or did they cut your hair because you're a famous college football player? That internally was broken. But to all of us, we never cared. We just wanted to sit down, turn on the TV. Oh, hey, Texas and Alabama, week 1. All right, let's watch. And that's how we feel about the NCAA basketball tournament. Come that first Thursday, we don't care about the first 4 on True TV. But come the NCAA basketball tournament where games are going on, we want to watch, we want to get excited. And by that Saturday, we will feel like we know everything about every team in college basketball. And Greg Sankey wants to mess with that. Why? Why does Greg Sankey want to expand the field? Ian, Greg Sankey says he wants to expand the field. They say they're going to break away from the NCAA. Why does Greg Sankey want to expand the field, Ian?
Money.
Of course. That's why. We want more SEC teams into the tournament. He used Ole Miss, who was one of the last teams into the baseball tournament, as the example. UCLA last year was one of the 11 seeds that got to the Final Four. VCU has been that way in the past. Guess what? We don't need more freaking teams in the basketball tournament. If you guys promised me today that you guys would expand football and screw around with the conferences and do whatever you want, but as long as you left basketball alone, I'd be okay with it. But I knew they couldn't. I knew they couldn't not ruin the basketball tournament. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And so, and don't blame the players. This is what, I always love this because it always comes out about, and the coaches. Boy, the coaches bitch about this just incessantly. This reminds me of when the NFL collective bargaining agreement in 2011 came down and the players didn't really get much in return, but they did get less practice time. So the owners kind of got everything they wanted, and the players were like, hey, no padded practices in the spring, no two-a-days, the limit on the amount of padded practices we can have. Like, we want more time off, more voluntary stuff, and that's why they get so offended anytime somebody says something like, hey, why is so-and-so not at voluntary workouts? It's, don't you dare say that he should be here because it's voluntary. That's why they take it so personally, because that's what they fought for. And the coaches, when they saw this, they went to the owners and they said, how are we going to be able to coach? We don't have any time to practice with pads on. We don't not play with pads. And the owners are like, yeah, we don't care. And so the coaches just complain in college football about, NIL and the rules aren't the same. And, God, this is not fair. But the truth is, none of us really care about that. Nobody cares. You might care because you look at it like, I'm going to lose a player to Alabama. But you don't care about how dare this college student make me. Yeah, you don't care about that because you're paying them anyways under the table. We all know it for years. But they're going to blame the kids for this. When they screw up college sports, which it looks like they're going to do, they're going to blame the student athletes for this. And like I said, Greg Sankey is a politician, and the student athlete, as they like to say, is the middle class. Every politician gets up there and talks about the middle class. You ever seen a campaign rally where somebody sits there and says, and we are going to do things better for the wealthy, and everybody gets out there and claps? Of course you don't. And so you'll see Greg Sankey whenever they screw up the basketball tournament, and with this new TV deal with the Big Ten, you'll see them say that this is all about the student athlete. It's not. And that's what's going on here. It's really transparent. It's incredibly disappointing. And Greg, or as I call him, Greg Snakey, look, I know you want to make your money. You're making a ton of money. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for the SEC. I'm happy for the institutions. Great. Don't ruin the basketball tournament. Just for the sanctity of sports. Just don't ruin the basketball tournament. You want to ruin the regular season? Ruin the regular season. I don't care. Just don't ruin the basketball tournament. Trevor Maddich will join us next. His reaction to all this news. Breaking away from the NCAA, Fox and the Big Ten, CBS, NBC, $1 gajillion for the TV contract. We'll get into that next with Trevor Maddich. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This is Mikhail Kralland, and this is Nashville.
The rebound shoveled in by Mikhail Kralland, and the Predators have tied it up on the power play.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
An effective defense often hinges on sophisticated strategies relating to income tax projections, business valuations, spousal support claims. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
Contact the domestic litigation firm of Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Nashville area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 615-457-8700. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Offices in Nashville, Franklin, Murfreesboro, and Gallatin. Cordell & Cordell, 810 Crescent Center Drive, Suite 160, Franklin, Tennessee, 37067.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here to tell you Twin Peaks will hook you up for your fantasy football draft party, which includes a draft board, player stickers, free Wi-Fi, a $50 bonus for the commish, and a $5 bonus card for each drafter. And when you're not on the clock, relax with one of Twin Peaks' refreshing 29-degree beers, or order for the whole team with a Peak sampler full of fan favorites, or indulge in shareables like the double-stack nachos, loaded fries, and multiple flavors of boneless wings. Call Twin Peaks in Cool Springs today to book your fantasy football draft party at 615-221-0869.
Pink Floyd's Roger Waters. This is not a drill.
We're doing a show in the round. It's something new. I'll look forward to the challenge.
Featuring his songs from the golden era of Pink Floyd. Saturday, August 27th, Bridgestone Arena. Tickets at rogerwaters.com.
This is not a drill.
Produced by AEG Presents.
This is Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers. We understand that no one likes to deal with auto body repair and the inconvenience it becomes in your day-to-day life. I want to personally invite you to stop by and let our experienced staff see how we can help you make your vehicle look good as new. Apple Collision Center has 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Come by and see us or visit us online at applecollisioncenters.com.
In today's economy, employers and employees should be working together to create safe, good-paying jobs with no unnecessary government overreach. Right to work does not belong in the state constitution. Tennesseans, this voting season, vote no on Amendment 1. Visit TennesseeWorkersAlliance.org, paid for by the Nashville Building Trades.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their series in Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win.
Pregame at 5:50 on your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
What's happening in Nashville? This is Scott Van Pelt. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Stillman and Company. So I just saw something from Front Office Sports that says, under its record-breaking new media rights deal, the Big Ten will average more money per year than the NHL. The Big Ten, $1 billion. I think it's $1.1 billion. The NHL, $625 million for their national media rights deal. And I literally laughed out loud when I saw this because there is absolutely no context with that. And the fact that the NHL, every team has a local TV contract in which they make millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, just like the Predators and Bally's every year. And each game gets counted twice because there's 2 local markets. There's the Predators versus the Florida Panthers, and that TV market and that TV market have the game. And it doesn't include the Canadian rights fees, which I'm sure are expensive too. I would assume that probably totals more than $1.1 billion, but I don't know. But it was a big day for the Big Ten, and again, the big news of the week is the fact that the power brokers of college football have decided that they're going to break away from the NCAA. Kirk Herbstreit, Ian, if we could, foreshadowed this early July when the USC-UCLA move was announced. Kirk was on SiriusXM Mad Dog Radio. He told everybody then exactly what was going to happen.
Wait until players become employees. I think that's going to be part of this, too. I think this world that I'm describing is going to break away from the NCAA. I think they'll create their own governing body. They'll put a commissioner that's in charge of it. They'll probably do a CBA with the players, essentially making them employees. and then they'll negotiate a deal with them to avoid the antitrust laws. Negotiate a deal. Here's our deal. We'll pay you a salary your freshman year. We'll pay you a salary your sophomore year, junior year, senior year. And the longer you stay, the more money you make. And it's professional football.
That's where we're headed. Trevor Matich joins us now, ESPN college football analyst, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters. Trev, let's start with this. Your reaction to the news that the college football power brokers are talking about leaving the NCAA.
Yeah, well, great minds think alike, because right when the news broke about USC and UCLA, I made a 10-tweet Twitter thread and said all those very same things. So Kirk and I are on the same page when it comes to that. I think that's one of the things that has to happen, because the NCAA has to have sort of a one-size-fits-all among 130 teams. So the rules for recruiting, academics, compensation, all those different things need to be the same if the NCAA is doing it. And one of the things that SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey kind of lamented during SEC Media Days was that you had people that represent schools that don't have the commitment financially or morally to football that the SEC does on panels making decisions that affect the SEC. And so it doesn't really make a lot of sense for the SEC, the Big Ten, to be governed in exactly the same way that Conference USA is being governed. Now, having said that, there needs to be some similarity, or else they won't be able to play each other. And so there's a degree to which the health of the smaller schools is important for the health of the larger schools. But at the same time, at this point, the NCAA for a long, long time, really, in my opinion, since the Penn State situation with Jerry Sandusky, where they got involved in a situation that was rightly a law enforcement issue, the NCAA has been more of an impediment to the health of college football than it has been a benefactor of it.
Trevor, Greg Sankey came out on Friday, and I think you and I would both agree that when news gets broken about people are thinking about doing something, the reality is they've already thought about it. They've already decided what they're going to do. Greg Sankey came out and said he's thinking about wanting to expand the basketball field and basically kind of kick the little guys out and get more SEC teams in there. I have asked of one thing, no matter what happens with all this expansion and realignment and TV contracts and everything else, don't screw with the basketball tournament. That feels inevitable. If they break away from the NCAA in football, is there any chance they don't break away from the NCAA and everything else too?
No, it's possible. I mean, the NCAA still governs Olympic sports, even though essentially the Power Five is called, by the Power Five themselves, they're called the Autonomous Five, because they have almost complete autonomy over how they run their football. And it's not complete autonomy. There's still things that the NCAA is involved with, but it's still, there's a model for having basketball and all the other Olympic sports be, run by the NCAA the way they're running it now, certainly because the NCAA runs their tournaments. So those things can happen, but, it may be the cleanest solution to let football go be football, to let football conferences decide who they'll partner with and what they'll do independent of the NCAA, but keep the other sports within the structure that we currently see with the NCAA, because it works with football. But if you start doing it with soccer and wrestling and gymnastics and things like that, you create a whole bunch of problems that don't need to be created.
Trevor Matich is with us, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trev, your reaction to the $1.1 billion per year deal that the Big Ten has inked with Fox, CBS, NBC, and what it means for college football big picture?
Yeah, if I'm the backup long snapper on any of these teams, I'm thrilled, because money's coming their way, because it has to. With that kind of money, judges have already ruled that you've got to allow players to be compensated through NIL. It hasn't been adjudicated yet, at least not up to the Supreme Court, whether or not teams, schools can pay players directly. But one of the Supreme Court justices in the NIL finding said in a side note, in a side opinion, that he's not sure that banning organizations, schools from paying players directly wouldn't be illegal restraint of trade as well. So
Kavanaugh totally set it up. Trevor, to your point,
yeah.
Brett Kavanaugh totally set it up that if somebody takes it to the Supreme Court will rule in favor of the players.
Right. And so now what we're looking at is more autonomy, because you have to have collective bargaining in order for it not to be a free-for-all. conferences can collective bargain within that conference and not be antitrust, I believe, with the players. In other words, the players have to agree. So the players will agree to collective bargaining that they'll get a certain percentage of TV revenue or defined gross revenues like NFL players do, and go from there. And then another conference could do the same. If you did it all throughout all of college football, the problem there is that you've got vastly different levels of money to distribute. And so you could do it on a percentage level. You could say that the SEC and the Big Ten and everybody else, they're going to give 15% of defined gross revenues to the players. And so if you're Big Ten, that might be 15% of $100 million this year. And if you're Conference USA, that might be 15% of, $15 million. And so that might be a way to handle it. But it's more likely, in my opinion, that you'll see conferences kind of split off and do their own thing. And that's where autonomy comes from. The big conferences need to decide to what degree is the health of the Conference USAs of the world more important than maximizing the dollars that they can make based on the brands that they have built. And so if I'm a smaller conference right now, I'm a bit worried about what that outcome might be.
Well, to that point, Trevor Matich is with us. What do you make of what this TV rights deal means for the ACC, the Big 12, and the Pac-12?
Well, ultimately, it's great because they're going to fall behind, but they've been falling behind because the Big 10 and the SEC have been making a lot more than those conferences anyway. And so what it does is it sets a market, it sets a value for games. And going forward with grant of rights negotiations, there will be in broadcast negotiations, essentially, they can say that the value of broadcasting a live game has gone up. It's the same way as if you've got a free agent quarterback makes a lot more money than the other guy that's going to be a free agent next year who's a Pro Bowler, right? Well, that Pro Bowler's agent's going to say, I'm glad that guy got paid because it means my guy's going to get more. And the thing to watch for is what happens with the tech companies. Because one of the interesting things about the Big Ten deal is that NBC is now heavily involved. And apparently Notre Dame wanted NBC to get more involved in college football so they could promote Notre Dame games on other games, just a cross-promotional thing. But in addition to NBC having a broadcast package on linear TV of Big Ten games, Peacock Network, which is their streaming service, also has a package of Big Ten games. And to me, that's the biggest thing with the biggest potential for disruption out of this whole thing. Because now you got Amazon that's got NFL games. You got Peacock that's got Big Ten games. Apple TV has been dabbling in negotiations about these things. And then you've got Google sitting there with YouTube. Google could shake its couch
and they
buy.
All have baseball games now.
Well, there you go. And so if all of a sudden you start to get streaming services and big tech companies join in the competition for the Big 12 and the Pac-12 when their grant of rights come up and they can renegotiate, all of a sudden this $80 million a year, $100 million a year that the Big Ten is distributing might not look so big anymore because those two conferences are locked up. The ACC is locked up. Pac-12 is coming up soon, Big 12 in a little bit pretty soon, and those are the cream of the crop that remains available for someone to negotiate for within the next several years. And so it'll be interesting to see what the tech companies do. And again, I'm looking at Google because Google with YouTube, if they see Amazon Prime having live NFL and being successful, if they see Apple TV and Peacock, get involved and be successful in broadcasting live games, Google just might say, okay, we're going to buy the whole lot of them. And that'll be an interesting. And who's available to be bought right now? Big 12, Pac-12.
Trevor Matich is with us, as always, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. How do you think the NBC deal with the Big Ten affects Notre Dame?
I think Notre Dame, I don't think it affects Notre Dame except that it helps with cross-promotion as if they needed it. It gets NBC even further entrenched in the sport of college football. So, if they ever decided to leave, they are less likely now. I don't know that they would have, but certainly it solidifies that foundation. But to me, other than that, and other than the fact that it raises the market value of that level of game, Big Ten level broadcasting, other than that part of it, I don't think it will affect Notre Dame all that much. To me, the only thing that will affect Notre Dame will be if the Big Ten and the SEC split off, collective bargain with their players, have a commissioner, have their own playoff and their own version of the Super Bowl to the exclusion of everything else. That's the thing that would get Notre Dame to jump up off the curb. They would have to, because one of the short list of deal-breaking criteria for Notre Dame is to have access to the national championship. And in that scenario, they wouldn't have access because they're not part of those two conferences. But as long as they have access to the national championship, I don't think it'll affect Notre Dame at all, except for the promotional value and the value of the games being set so that when they renegotiate with NBC, their rights will go up a lot more too.
Trevor Matich is with us. The AP Top 25 is out for the college football season. Trev, let's dive in. Let's discuss, because there's some teams that I think are a little overrated. We'll do that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 2:45.
Sanders for the touchdown, 48 yards.
Former NFL wide receiver Chris Sanders joins Stillman & Company to give his thoughts on all things Titans and NFL. Fueled by Parman Energy, now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Mainly clear skies as we head into the evening and the overnight with comfortable temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. On our way to about 90 for Friday afternoon. Partly cloudy and isolated thunderstorms throughout the day. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face truck today.
Whether it's the news, the traffic, the weather, or your COVID-19 vaccinations, it's important to stay up to date. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage, whether you are buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Bill was tired of saying no to his kids because of his debilitating pain.
I have 3 kids that are 13 and under. Every day they're asking, Dad, can we take a bike ride? Dad, can we play ping pong? Unfortunately, in the past, I had to sadly say no quite often.
An accident left Bill with aching knees and shoulders. Even after 4 knee surgeries, Bill still felt constant pain in his knees. And then he discovered QC Kinetics and their natural biologic therapies.
I did it on the knee. It really became life-changing. I've had the same results with the shoulder.
QC Kinetics non-invasive regenerative treatments help restore damaged tissue and provided much-needed relief for knees, hips, shoulders, and backs. Right there in the office, no downtime. Bill's able to do just about anything these days.
Like taking my kids to Disney World and walking 10 miles a day at Disney, bike riding, taking a walk on the beach.
Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation today. Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Informative.
They played a lot of power play time together back in the day.
Insightful.
It's a great addition to this team.
And just 3 guys being dudes.
On the sideline in shorts and a t-shirt. Hanging out, watching the game.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
No such thing as bad press.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman & Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company and Trevor Matich is with us. The AP Top 25 is out. Trevor Matich, of course, is presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. When experience matters. The number 1 team in the country is Alabama. And there's a couple of teams I'm going to tell you what now. I'm not totally feeling up here. Number 1, Notre Dame at number 5. Don't like that. Number 2, Clemson at number 4. Don't like that. And number 3, and this one probably bothers me the most, USC at number 14. Now, I know they got a new coach, Lincoln Riley, Trevor, and I know they rated the transfer portal, but USC is overrated every year. Am I supposed to believe that Lincoln Riley's going to come in right now and have them as the top 14, the 14th best team in the country, Trev?
Yeah, I think so. And it could be a lot higher, or it could be a lot lower. The thing about USC, if you just look down their roster now, it's not a matter of talent anymore. It's a matter of putting that talent together and creating chemistry, which is not easy to do. But Mel Tucker at Michigan State last year brought in a lot of key components to the transfer portal and turned them into a team that was ranked in the top 5 in November, for goodness sake. And so if Lincoln Riley can get the chemistry going before they blow any early games, then starting in October, this team could be unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. And that includes, by the way, the defense. Last year, USC's defense couldn't stop the run, couldn't stop the pass, couldn't get to the quarterback. Other than that, they were also awful, right? But this year, you look at who's coming back, plus the transfer portal, plus Alex Grinch is the new defensive coordinator. This defense should make a quantum leap and go from heinous to pretty productive. And that's all they'll need if the offense comes together like they should be able to. So USC at number 14, I don't think they'll finish at 14. They'll either finish a lot higher or they'll bounce all the way out of the top 25.
Trevor, Tennessee is the number 1 team that is receiving votes, not in the top 25 poll. Do you think they will be a top 25 team this season?
I do. I do, because Tennessee has got the offense to score a whole lot of points. And that gives the defense the advantage of not having to stop everybody. All they need to do is go after the football between the 20s, try to get some turnovers. If you don't, just tackle them before they score a touchdown, get into the red zone and tighten up, force a few field goals, and all of a sudden that offense can take over and force other offenses out of their game plan. So, Tennessee has a chance to be really good. It will all depend on whether some young receivers step up and whether the offensive line, which has a lot of experience coming back, can be better at pass protection for Hendon Hooker. If that happens, though, Tennessee has the ability to cobble together some wins that people wouldn't expect them to be able to pull off.
Trev, I look at Clemson at 4. Last year, Dabo made a big deal about the fact that after they lost, their first 3 games or 3 of their first 4, whatever, that they won out and they won the ACC, and that he feels good about this year's team. Last year's team was a massive disappointment, and everybody turned them off once they started losing to NC State and everybody else. Am I supposed to believe, according to the AP Top 25, that Clemson this year is a playoff contender?
I agree with you, Jared, about Notre Dame being too high at 5. I'm okay with Clemson at 4. And the reason is because of what happened last year, why they fell off and lost a few games. I mean, they won 10 games, for goodness sake, but because they lost those early ones that you mentioned, people just sort of tuned them out. But what happened last year was epic injuries on both sides of the ball, especially along the offensive line. And then the receivers could not put it together. And then their quarterback, DJ Uyunglele, didn't respond well to not having protection, to not having much of a running game, and to not having receivers who could get open. So he didn't make that team better than it had the chance to be because he didn't respond well enough. Part of that's on the coaches. They didn't give him enough answers when things broke down. So everything just went wrong with them. They still won 10 games. This year, as it sits today, in other words, we're not factoring in any potential injuries, Clemson will have one of the best defenses in the country. It won't be Georgia 2021. I don't know that we'll see a defense like that in our lifetime again, but it will be dominant at the top level of college football this year, top to bottom, especially starting with that defensive line, which was what we expect. So what about that offense, right? Well, because there were so many injuries on the O-line, a lot of guys played poorly, but now they're back with experience. The line should be much, much better. Will Shipley's a good running back. The receivers are going to have to step up, and Uyunglele is going to have to be much better than he was last year. But by all accounts, he's doing better. And they've got the freshman, Klubnik, who is also playing well. So that competition will mean that whoever starts at quarterback is going to be upgrading the performance of the position over what happened last year. So, you combine those things, then you look at who's behind them. You also have to say, okay, having said that about Clemson, who behind them should be at number 4 instead of them? and I can make at least as good a case for Clemson to be there as anybody that's behind them.
Trevor Matich is with us, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. Alabama at 1, Ohio State at 2, Georgia at 3. I know Georgia lost a lot of talent to the NFL, but then again, so did those other two teams. The other two teams have established quarterbacks. I have a theory. When I look at the FanDuel Sportsbook app and I see that the Cleveland Browns, until today, had better odds to win the AFC than the Titans, it is the message that the bettors do not believe at all in Ryan Tannehill. I know Stetson Bennett won the national championship last year. Georgia is at 3 behind probably the first 2 picks in next year's draft in both C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. Is Georgia at 3 fair after what they did last season, Trevor, or should they still be number 1?
No, I think Georgia at 3 is fair. And the thing about Bennett is that we're going to find out about him, aren't we, this year? Last year, he had that glorious defense, and he had a phenomenal running game to support it. Even so, people said that he wasn't a playmaker. He was just a marginal game manager, but I disagree with that, especially when you look at Alabama in the national championship game. Bennett was pushing the ball down the field and making plays. It wasn't just that he was just distributing short and letting fast guys run. He was actually making plays. But now that glorious defense will become just a very good defense, I think. He's got some young receivers that need to step up, and Bennett needs to make them better. He's going to need to rely heavily on the best tight end room in college football. It's a ridiculous tight end room led by Brock Bowers coming back for a sophomore season. But I think we'll find out more about Bennett because he won't have the luxury of not having to press because the defense would always hold the score down on the other side. So I think that Bennett is more of a playmaker and a better player than he got credit for last year. But he is nowhere on the level of Bryce Young of Alabama or C.J. Stroud of Ohio State. So when it comes down to playing those teams, more of the pressure will be on Bennett, and he's going to have to prove that he can rise up in that situation too.
My favorite one in this right now, Trevor Matich with us. Kentucky is at 20 in the poll. What'd you make of Mark Stoops getting all chappy at John Calipari for calling Kentucky a basketball school last week?
Oh, it's kind of the blue on blue version of Nick Saban versus Jimbo Fisher, right? It was actually kind of fun. I think both of them messed up, especially Calipari though. Really? I mean, you're going to throw the football team under the bus like you did?
Yeah, but everybody knows that's true, though, Trevor. And nobody would have even paid attention to it if Stoops didn't make a big deal about it.
Well, but see, Stoops is protecting his guy.
No, he's not.
Keep in mind that.
No, he is not. That is such
Yes,
bull
he is.
crap, Trev.
Okay, why not? Why do you say no?
Okay, because I believe that this is my thing. And because people say, well, they recruit against them, and then they'll say this. I don't believe that. I believe that John Calipari said it. Mark Stoops saw it. It's his biggest insecurity is that I'm the only coach in the SEC at a basketball school. And for John Calipari to say it pissed him off. And so he hit send on that Twitter button, not to stand up for his players like a baseball manager running out of the dugout to yell at an umpire, but because he was mad that Calipari said it, and he felt personally offended by what Cal said. That's why he said it. And then after he said it and tweeted it, it was like, no, I'm not mad for me. I'm mad for my players.
Well, I think a lot of people agree with you on that, Jared, but that's not the way I saw it because there's no reason for Stoops to get that mad necessarily on his own level.
Oh, it's great to be a football coach at a basketball school.
Well, the thing is, though, that's fair. Although, really, Kentucky in recent years has been a football school, and that's one of the great things that Stoops said. I thought it was a delicious zinger when he said, "Yeah, we've got 4 straight postseason victories." What was it last March Madness? Kentucky got bounced by who was it?
St. Peter's.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So I thought that was a great thumb in the eye of Calipari. I thought that was wonderful. It was a great zinger.
Here's my thing about Stoops. Here's my thing about Stoops that bothers me. Stoops will never have to beat Georgia or Alabama and is the 15th highest paid coach in college football. Enjoy it. Because if he was at Tennessee, for example, and he was doing what he was doing at Kentucky where they win 10 games and then they win 6 games and then they win 7 games and then they win 6 games and then they win 8 games and then they win 6 games and then they win 9 games. If he was doing that at Tennessee, at some point Tennessee would say, all right, Bubba, time to go beat Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. but they're never going to do that at Kentucky. They have no desire to play in Atlanta. They're never going to play in Atlanta, and that's the benefit of coaching at a basketball school, and Mark Stoops needs to realize it and kiss the rings.
No, I don't see that at all. He's not going to be kissing anything. He kisses his own ring, and that's about it. Kentucky football fans have been as passionate as any fans in the country in recent decades, except for the Joker Phillips experiment. That didn't work out, right? They kind of went away, but then Stoops came in and brought it back. And they are investing hundreds of millions of dollars in football. Kansas didn't do that. I don't know what they're doing now, but as of a few years ago, Kansas football facilities had remained dilapidated because they put all the money into basketball. Well, Kentucky's not doing that. They're putting $250 million or whatever into football, which is what set off Calipari. And I do think that Stoops was letting his players know that no one is going to call their program second class. Not the basketball, not the heart surgery, nothing. And I really think he was standing up for his players, because here's the thing. If he didn't, then you'd have players thinking, well, gee, how come he didn't defend us? Are we really second-class citizens here because our coach didn't stand up? Now, I thought he overdid it, but this is a Calipari problem, not a Stoops problem.
Now, I'll agree with you on that. Trevor Maddich, as always, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trev, good talking to you. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Jared.
I actually completely disagree with Trevor. I did radio in Kentucky for 2 years. They like Kentucky football, but, they don't care. 615-737-1025. Coming up next on the program, full recap from today's Titans-Bucks practice and yesterday, what we learned from the Titans and Buccaneers practices. That's next. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Your speaker at home is so smart that even Alexa knows where to find Nashville's best sports talk.
102.5 The Game is Nashville's best sports talk.
Ask Alexa to enable 102.5 The Game. Once enabled, ask Alexa to play 102.5 The Game.
Welcome to 102.5 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Nothing makes one feel better than the ability to give to someone in need. Blood Assurance invites you to give the gift of life with a blood donation. Blood Assurance announces their partnership with Scott Hamilton's CARES Foundation, dedicated to changing the future of cancer by funding advanced, innovative cancer research. Now to the end of August, if you make a blood donation at any area Blood Assurance Center, they will donate $10 to the Scott Hamilton CARES Foundation. Give blood, give local, save lives with Blood Assurance.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's,
Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker. Reese's. Reese's.
Reese's.
Peanut Butter Cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
In the wee hours of the night, when everyone else is fast asleep, you're the one on third shift, burning the midnight oil. When a part fails and everything comes to a grinding halt, regardless of what the clock on the wall says, you leap into action. Grainger is with you and all the ones who get it done, with 24/7 customer support by phone or click to chat. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
A new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store is now open in Franklin at Watson Glen. Get ready to score up to 70% off thousands of items from your favorite athletic brands. Check out can't-miss deals for the entire family, including tees, tanks, shorts, leggings, footwear, golf apparel, and more. Plus, new styles arrive weekly, so there's always more from the best brands. Check out your new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store for the grand opening celebration, August 19th to the 21st in Franklin at Watson Glen.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne,
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman Company, Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We had pass rushes.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Practice number 2, Titans and Buccaneers in the books. I've got all my notes out. My Practice 1 notes, if you're looking at the stream, I am holding up my Practice 1 notes and my Practice 2 notes as well. I looked at the defense on day 1. I watched the offense on day 2. And I think there are some legitimate things that I feel like we learned from these practices. And what would be the point of me learning things about the Titans at these practices? And what would be the point of me being at these practices if I didn't share them with you? So I am going to share kind of what I learned. There were probably some little things I was kind of looking to go see at practice, but there wasn't anything when I went to go see these practices where I was like, oh, I hope I get to see this at practice. I just wanted to see the team go up against another team. Now, I think it should be fair to note that the Titans' offense went up against a championship-caliber defense because the Buccaneers' defense, albeit they blew it last year against the Rams in the divisional round of the playoffs when they allowed a busted coverage for Cooper Kupp in order to set up a game winner, that is literally a defense that won a championship. Yes, Ndamukong Suh is not there anymore, but they replaced him with Akeem Hicks, who honestly might be a better player at this point in their careers. So Vita Vea was out there. Sean Murphy-Bunting was out there. Antoine Winfield Jr. was out there. Levante David was out there. Devin White was out there. That is a championship-caliber defense. The Buccaneers' offense was Blaine Gabbert, Jalen Darden, Julio Jones, backup offensive lineman, and Leonard Fournette and Cameron Brate. So not exactly an NFL caliber offense that the Titans went up against, which Kevin Byard even alluded to yesterday, but can't make excuses for who plays. And the worst thing in the world for the Titans this season would be if they play a team on their schedule that has a good quarterback, let's just say Cincinnati, and Joe Burrow's out, the worst thing would be to lose that game. And I would say that the defense looked every bit as dominant as we have anticipated them being. We demanded on Tuesday that going into these practices, when we knew Mike Evans had a hamstring, when we knew Chris Godwin was coming back from the knee, when we knew that Russell Gage had had an injury and he would be out, when we knew Tom Brady was taking some kind of random vacation that I've never heard of and still don't understand, and Ryan Jensen, their center, wouldn't be in there, we demanded that the defense dominate. And they did. Listening to TD, who was covering the defensive side of the field, he said they backed that up. What I saw in day 1, they backed that up in day 2. Now, here's what I learned. I learned that the Titans defense has a legitimate position battle at the outside starting corner spot, and it is between Caleb Farley and Roger McCreary. Vrabel loves Farley. He's got the size, he's got the athleticism and the length, and according to Vrabel, apparently he's got the attitude and the personality and makeup in order to be what they want him to be. The question is, can he be a number 1 corner in the league? Roger McCreary was drafted, and everybody said if he didn't have short arms, he would have gone in the first round. And that when he was at Auburn in the SEC, he did not let his man catch the ball. Well, in the practice that I saw, McCreary is ahead of Farley And McCreary does not let his guy catch the football. He is always around the ball. He is scrapping for it. Think of like a high-end Malcolm Butler. That's kind of what I see with McCreary. Now, I haven't seen the gambling that Butler used to have, but I always see him around the football. And maybe that means that McCreary won't be able to make those kind of interceptions that Butler made, but he is not a gambler, but he's got a nose for the ball. The second thing I learned about on defense is that every other spot on defense is solid. Hooker is solid, and he keeps getting better. David Long Jr. is solid, and he keeps getting better. The pass rushers, Bud Dupree on a handoff for Leonard Fournette, was in the backfield and smacked those pads, and it would have been a 2 or 3 yard loss. Jeffrey Simmons, from what I saw in day one on the defensive side of the field, I said to TD today, I said, was he the best player on that field? TD was like, absolutely. That's what I saw. I'll be honest, I was worried. In 2020, the Titans statistically had the best offense they've ever had. Ever. In 2021, the offense was kind of a nightmare. In 2021, the Titans had a very good defense that at the end of the year was an elite level defense. 9 sacks in a playoff game. They were a championship caliber defense when David Long Jr. got into the lineup. Zach Cunningham came onto the team, and they really got guys like Hooker and Simmons to come into their own. But I was nervous that after we saw the drop-off from 2020 on offense to 2021, that maybe we'd see a similar drop-off on the defense. And albeit, while they were facing Blaine Gabbert and the backups, outside of one huge mistake from Caleb Farley in the 2-minute drill yesterday, they pretty much looked the part. Now we'll see when Kyler and the Arizona Cardinals passing attack comes to town, and I think DeAndre Hopkins will be able to practice then, when they have Hopkins out there and Zach Ertz out there and Rondale Moore out there, and we'll see. We'll see if they're the same when they're playing real NFL starters, unlike the Buccaneers. But the defense looked good. One battle, McCreary versus Farley. They're both going to be on the field this year. They're both going to play. Right now, though, McCreary has the upper hand. Offense. Here's what we learned. They have decided who their pass-catching core is. They've got 5 receivers that are going to make the team, and these are the 5 guys Tannehill's going to throw the ball to at receiver. Robert Woods, Nick Westbrook-Akina, Treylon Burks, Racey McMath, and Kyle Phillips. And they all have different roles, and I think Tannehill likes different guys for different reasons. I think you're more likely to see him throw a deep ball to McMath or Burks, and I think you're more likely to see him in a gotta-have-it 3rd and 7 target Westbrook-Akina, Phillips, or Hooper. But I think that he sees a role for each guy, and I think that he's got a good rapport with them. I think he really likes Austin Hooper. Yesterday in the 2-minute drill, when the Titans got the ball, it was right away, Tannehill, right to Hooper. Tannehill to Hooper. Tannehill to Hooper. He also really likes Kyle Phillips. Today in the 2-minute drill, when they got the ball, Tannehill got sacked on the first play, which was not very good. Mike Vrabel wasn't very happy about that. But Tannehill to Phillips, Tannehill to Phillips, and Tannehill once again to Phillips, although that one was incomplete. But he did target him 3 straight times. So 3 straight times targeting Hooper yesterday, 3 straight times targeting Phillips today. Tannehill wants to get the football to those 2 guys in high-leverage situations. I think that's obvious. Tannehill has good chemistry with Robert Woods is another thing that we learned. In a 2-minute drill yesterday, Tannehill facing pressure rolled out to the left, and Robert Woods broke open into the middle of the field, and Tannehill delivered the ball. And I had somebody whose football opinion I trust very much who told me after practice that is a great play and a very hard play for those 2 to make. And when I factor in the fact that they haven't had as much time together as somebody that Tannehill's played with before, I think that gives me confidence about what that relationship's going to look like. The other thing, the 2 guys I think Tannehill has a lot of trust in, who nobody around the country knows about. I think he's got a lot of trust in Nick Westbrook-Akina, and I think he's got a lot of trust in Dontrell Hilliard. and he threw them the football in high-leverage situations as well. So to me, that was a big step, I think Tannehill trusts his pass-catching core this year. The other guys at wide receiver, Des Fitzpatrick might make it. Cody Hollister might make it. Mason Kinsey might make it. They all might make it. I don't know. But Tannehill's not throwing those guys the ball. Tannehill is throwing that group the ball. Westbrook-Akina, Woods, Burks, McMath, Phillips, Hilliard, Hooper. I was a little surprised how much Chigakonkwo wasn't in there. Another thing we learned is that Malik Willis is really having a hard time with the game slowing down. That's the next step for Malik. And I made this comparison with TD earlier today, which is think about the first time you ever drove your car as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, and you were changing lanes on the interstate. Think about how easy it is. A lot of you are probably in your cars right now. You're probably changing lanes as I speak. But think about the first time you did it. You know you're supposed to look in your mirrors. You do look in your mirrors, but do you really trust what you see in your mirrors? And so you're changing lanes on the interstate, and you look over, and you're like, I see an opening for me to change, but do I trust it? Now you're changing lanes. You've been driving for 20 years. Now it's just click, click, over. There you go. That's where Malik Willis is right now. In the 2-minute drill in both days, Malik Willis held on to the ball way too long. In fact, at one point, the Buccaneers today were and it got a little chirpy, and they were chirping at Willis. Sack 1, sack 2, because he was holding on to the ball so long. Vrabel says, I want you to throw the ball. I don't want you to run the ball. So now he's just looking for the perfect opportunity. Is he sure if he should throw it? Does he know? Does he? That's something he's got to work on. He's got to trust almost his instincts and what he knows. He's got to learn how to trust that more. That I learned. I didn't know that after the Ravens game. I learned that. And the other thing, the final thing that I feel like we've learned about Malik Willis, or I've learned, is Malik right now has one speed. Fastball. That's it. When he takes a snap from center, if this were baseball, the catcher is putting one finger down. And Malik is rearing back and firing it. Too many times today, I wrote in my notes on throws, too hot, too high, too far, too much zip. Now, that's a good thing because it's much easier to teach somebody who has too much zip on the ball to tone it down a little bit and throw some touch than it is to tell somebody who's got a noodle arm, hey, I need you to stick it in that window. But as we even saw last week in the Ravens game, on the rollout and the throw to Torrey Carter, he put too much heat on that one. So that's what we took away. And as I go through my notes again, I think it's obvious what Tannehill's trying to do on offense. Now, there's a lot of things that I'm not sure we have learned. The right tackle position, I don't think we've learned about that. We'll have to see how they perform on Saturday night. The backup quarterback spot, we'll get into that in a second. Not sure that's been decided. But as far as what I wanted to see and what I did see, I think there was a lot to glean from these practices. And it was much better than last year, where last year I felt like on one hand the Titans played really well with a bunch of nobodies, and on the other hand they got smoked, especially going up against Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, all those guys who aren't there now. 615-737-1025. If you got a Titans question or thought, get it in, 615-737-1025. Plus, something I noticed today when I was watching offense, I asked Vrabel about it with no sense of my opinion to get his reaction, what he had to say about it. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. I absolutely love the FanDuel Sportsbook app, and you can rock into the second half of the baseball season the right way and turn K's into cash and big hits into big wins on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just sign up with the promo code JGM, place your first bet, and FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. FanDuel has great promotions every single day. It's a safe and secure app, and you get paid fast. Right now, Jacob deGrom going up against the Braves today. Jacob deGrom, I don't know how anybody gets a hit off of him. I would take the Mets. There's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook and my official sportsbook app. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up using the promo code JGM to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. 21 and over and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Hey everybody, Willie Donick here to tell you about Trivia Night for Stars. Think you're pretty smart? Well, come on out Wednesday, August 24th to Boom Bars East and test your trivia skills. I'll be your trivia master. We'll have sports questions, some non-sports questions, and some great prizes. It's brought to you by Nerdy Talk, and all proceeds support Stars and the hope, health, and connection of young people in our community. Register your team of no more than 4 and let the competition begin. Go to starsnashville.org to officially sign up. That's starsnashville.org. See you on August 24th at Boom Bars East.
Rock and country music's hardest hitters join forces. Five Finger Death Punch. Brantley Gilbert. With special guest Corey Marks. November 16th, Bridgestone Arena. On sale this Friday, 10 a.m. at livenation.com. Five Finger Death Punch's new album, Afterlife, out Friday. Five Finger Death Punch and Brantley Gilbert, live.
When you need electronics or appliances, find great deals in-store or online at Electronic Express. Save big on favorite brands like Samsung, GE, Nintendo, iRobot, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Are you sick and tired of constant pain in your knees, hips, or back? Especially this time of the year. You need to be moving pain-free, right? Hey, Willie Donick here for the team at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is helping people every day, giving them lasting pain relief using the latest advances in regenerative medicine. The science is simple. They concentrate your own body's healing agents and apply them to your aching joints, restoring and repairing the damaged tissue. No drugs, no steroids, no surgery. The old remedies for pain are not the only remedies. You need to learn more about how regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics can change your life. Make this the last summer you suffer from chronic pain. They've got clinics here and all over America. This is the exciting new, natural way to deal with joint pain. No side effects, no downtime. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Have you made a decision on who's starting at quarterback on Saturday night?
No. I'm going to try to digest this practice and make that decision.
Chance that maybe you want to look at Malik again and see how he
Sure, of course. Absolutely. You know, I mean, we went through with a plan last week and, you know, went through a plan to say, hey, we're going to put you back out there in the second half. Like to see you execute some things. He didn't, and so we deferred to Logan. So we'll continue to give everybody here that's earned opportunities, and he absolutely has. And, you know, just want to digest this practice and, you know, figure out a plan, you know, for the game.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel talking about who's going to start on Saturday night. I have no idea. If I had to bet, I would bet Willis, but I don't know for certain. But what I started noticing was today when I watched the offensive side of the field, team 11 on 11, Tannehill, then Willis, then Tannehill, 7 on 7, then Willis, then Tannehill, then Woodside, 11 on 11 red zone, Tannehill, and then Willis, Tannehill, and then Woodside. 2-point conversion, Tannehill, and then Willis. No Woodside. 2 minutes, Tannehill, and then Willis. And then last play, Tannehill, and then Blaine Gabbert went for Tampa Bay. Notice how it's Tannehill, Willis, Tannehill, sometimes Willis, sometimes Woodside. That is not how practice had been for the first 3 weeks. The first 3 weeks of practice had been Tannehill, Woodside, Willis. Tannehill, Woodside, Willis. Tannehill, Woodside, Willis. Now it's Tannehill, Willis, Tannehill, because, again, they need to get reps with the starters, and I found that to be very odd. So instead of saying that I found it odd or fascinating, or does this mean that Malik Willis has surpassed Logan Woodside, or instead of doing anything like that, I just asked Mike Vrabel why Logan Woodside was getting less reps.
Mike, why has the rep count decreased for Logan?
Because, I just think that we have to continue to develop Malik in this system. And we've had conversations with Logan about, his opportunity to compete. But I also feel like, we have to try to see, how quickly we can bring Malik along. And I think that would be the reason why.
So Mike Vrabel is saying we need the practice reps for Malik Willis. Ian, do you believe what Mike Vrabel is saying when he says Logan's decreased rep count is really about Malik getting the opportunity to develop more than it is, we don't love Logan anymore?
I mean, to a degree, I do buy that because,
I do too.
Willis does need the reps, and he does need to get more familiar with the system. And we've talked about how Logan Woodside has been here multiple years, and he knows the system pretty well. And I think if you really want to know what you have in the backup QB, I think they just need to get Willis as most comfortable as possible with the playbook and then let the rest take care of itself. Otherwise, you might not be able to get a full, real evaluation.
So that's exactly why I think they're doing what they're doing. Floyd used to tell us that the only way a team could develop a young quarterback is if they had a veteran starting quarterback who didn't need practice reps. Well, the Titans have a veteran starting quarterback, but their veteran starting quarterback during the week in the NFL needs practice reps. So they're not going to be able to develop Malik Willis the way that we all would want in a perfect world for them to develop Malik Willis during the season. Once the season starts, everybody's attention all of a sudden is going to get turned into, okay, this is what Indianapolis runs. Ryan, this is what you're going to want to do. We're going to send the tight end through here. We're going to send the receiver down. And so if they give us this look, Tannehill, this is what you need to see. And when Tannehill is on the practice field on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Friday, that's what they have to do. I believe, and I could be mistaken that this is the order that the week goes, I believe Wednesday is first and second down that they put into place for first and second down. Thursday is, I believe, goal line red zone. Friday is third down. I might have had that all mixed up, but that's how I think they do it. Well, when they get out there to practice, they're going to be on two separate fields. Ryan Tannehill is going to be up against the show team defense that is going to be running what Indianapolis runs. And Jeffrey Simmons and all those other guys are going to be on the other practice field with Shane Bowen going over what Indy runs on offense. And that will be Logan Woodside, if this is the quarterback room. It will be Logan Woodside who will play the part of Matt Ryan. And Logan Woodside will look at a card, and he will see what the receivers are supposed to do. And Des Fitzpatrick will be Michael Pittman Jr., and some practice squad receiver like Reggie Robertson will be Alec Pierce. Mason Kinsey will be Alec Pierce. And they'll say, okay, these, you run a slant, you run a curl, all right, ready, break. And that's what they do. Well, think about this. Where is the time for Malik to get in there to get those practice reps? It doesn't exist. And the Titans need to develop Malik because they need to know at the end of this season if Malik is going to fit what they want to do long term so they can make those quarterback plans. Malik's got the talent. I mean, Malik has talent. He had a run today that I thought was gorgeous on the 2-minute drill, which he did not have an effective 2-minute drill, neither did Tannehill, by the way. But in the 2-minute, Malik got the ball, and on the first play, he smoked McMath for a first down of 10. Now, it probably would have been a sack, and that was the sack 1, sack 2 that the Buccaneers were yelling. Then he scrambled right out of bounds, and he gained 10 yards with 40 seconds on the clock. He started with 50. He scrambles out of bounds with 40 seconds on the clock, and it was a quick 1-2 run, dash, pickup, 15, 10 yards, out of bounds, clock stops. You can't teach that. Malik's got a cannon for an arm. Can't teach that. So he's got the talent. But what they have to know is, can he fit the system? Can he do what they want him to do? And they're going to have to know this. They're going to have to see what he did in the Baltimore game and the mistakes he made, and they're going to have to see him get better in the Tampa Bay practices, and then see him get better in the Tampa Bay game, and then do the exact same thing with the Arizona game to then judge, can this guy get better and get good enough to be able to harness that to be our long-term starter? Now, let's not rule out either the idea that Malik could be the long-term backup here. I mean, it's not the end of the world if Malik can't develop into that starter and he becomes the long-term backup. It's not like they're paying him a bunch of money. So I do agree with Vrabel on that. And I thought it was interesting in the middle of that cut, Ian, if we could bring it back. In the middle of that cut, Vrabel stops himself when he talks about how they've explained it to Logan. And I wonder what that means. Play the cut again.
Mike, why has the rep count decreased for Logan?
Because, I just think that we have to continue to develop Malik in this system. And we've had conversations with Logan about, his opportunity to compete. But I also feel like.
So Vrabel goes, we've had conversations with Logan. So when he's talking about the rep count, he says we got to develop Malik, and we've had conversations with Logan about his opportunity to compete. What do we think opportunity to compete meant? What was he really going to say, and then stopped himself and wanted it to label it as opportunity to compete? My guess, that they've told Logan, hey, man, right now you're the backup. And if you're going to make this team, it's going to be as the backup quarterback. But Malik's going to have to get more practice reps. And Floyd used to always talk about the backup quarterback when Matt Castle was the backup here. And I used to always just bitch about it and think, oh, why is Matt Castle the backup? He sucks. Floyd used to say, with a young quarterback like Mariota, the Titans need an experienced veteran backup quarterback who doesn't need practice reps, because Marcus needs every practice rep. Well, Logan doesn't need practice reps. Logan's fine. So for me, I don't think it's anything. I wouldn't read into it as, yeah, they've really decided mentally to move on from Logan. But he's going to have less reps. 615-737-1025. We will get to your phones. But I got to tell you, today, I was really starting to get on the Roger Goodell train. And now I think I have to exit the platform. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. They take great care of my home. They have taken great care of my home for years, and they can do the exact same for you. It's back to school season, and Hiller is giving you free backyard upgrades all month long. Tackle those necessary home system replacements in August to take advantage of these special deals. Deals include a free Yeti Tundra cooler with the purchase of a new tankless water heater and a free Traegerwood pellet grill with the purchase of a new whole home generator. Hiller is also helping you keep cool for back to school with special limited time financing promotion on HVAC replacements. Get 0% interest financing for up to 12 months on select new HVAC systems. There is no better time to make sure that your family is comfortable for the last bit of warm weather before things will get cold. Hiller's work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services free guarantee, and I know this because I've been using Hiller at my home for years. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller! Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Titans training camp is underway.
Talking Titans?
What wide receivers make the team?
Traylon Burks, the physicality. Robert Woods, route concepts and how to get open.
Who starts on the offensive line?
It's a full-on right tackle battle.
What other storylines will stand out?
Malik Willis, some of the best he's looked in camp.
Titans training camp coverage is fueled by Parman Energy. Now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com and by USA Hemp Store on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
You've never knowingly feed your dog sawdust, but it's one of the most common fillers found in dog food today. Even the ones labeled healthy can contain powdered cellulose, otherwise known as wood pulp.
I'm veterinarian Dr. Marty Goldstein. Your dog needs a biologically appropriate diet. That's why I developed Nature's Blend, a freeze-dried raw food, premium cuts of meat, omega-3 rich seeds, and superfood veggies and fruit.
This is my dog Cleo. She's a 10-year-old Chihuahua. Before we started Dr. Marty's food, she was really not spunky, a lot of digestion problems, joint pain.
Nature's Blend is made in North America and is pantry safe.
Now she acts like a little puppy. She's running around.
For a limited time, save 54% off Nature's Blend and receive a free pack of premium dog treats. Go to drmartypets.com/good or text GOOD to 511-511.
I guarantee it with a 100% 90-day return of your purchase price.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 1 additional text off to opt out.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, this is David Poyle. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
The NFL and the NFLPA, more specifically the NFLPA lawyers that are representing Deshaun Watson in this entire appeal case with the NFL. Originally, it was 6 games. Originally, the world went bananas. Then there was an appeal from the NFL. Roger Goodell appointed the DA, I think, from New Jersey to look into this. Roger Goodell was on the record as saying that the judge, Sue L. Robinson, in her first time representing the NFL court, she said that it was obvious numerous violations, and he even said the word predatory behaviors. It was nonviolent, though, which is why it was 6 games in Sue L. Robinson's mind. But Roger Goodell and the NFL were very public and said that ain't enough, and so was most of the public opinion. So we didn't know what was going to take place. Would it be a year? Because that's what the NFL had been pushing for all along, and the judge that was listening to the appeal was appointed by the NFL. So you would assume that the NFL knows what the judge is going to do. So that maybe was the reason why the NFLPA wanted to strike a deal immensely and quickly with the NFL. They have done as such as of this morning.
That was Pat McAfee. The final tally for Deshaun Watson, 24 women accusing him of predatory behavior. Even more women, according to the New York Times, who weren't alleging it in any sort of court. 70-something massage therapists over a 17-month period. 30 women the Houston Texans settled with. 11 games and a $5 million fine. Deshaun Watson will begin play Week 12 for the Cleveland Browns this season at NRG Stadium in Houston against the Texans. That game will be must-watch television. And let me say this. I am so incredibly disappointed with the NFL for coming to a settlement with Deshaun Watson. The way the process worked, you all know it now, once the NFL decided to appeal the ruling to the NFL, they could do whatever they wanted. And Watson knew it. Watson even held a press conference today where he said the only reason that he said he was sorry is because people wanted him to say that he was sorry. He wasn't sorry. We all know when he did that. We all know he wasn't sorry. So no contrition from Deshaun Watson, or at least no real contrition. In fact, as Diana Rossini, who was at practice today for the Titans, tweeted out, those close to him, this was 6 hours ago, those close to him share with me today that he regrets putting himself in the position, quote, this isn't an admission or apology to the women involved. Oh, man. Deshaun today said that he will continue to stand by his innocence, and his apology was to all the women who were triggered by the situation, including those involved, quote, I never assaulted or disrespected anyone, but I have to push forward with my life and my career. Great. No punishment for Deshaun Watson. Because his contract was so heavily front-loaded and all the money was given to him up front, he's going to lose in his 11-game suspension, by my calculations, just a little bit over $640,000 this year. He's already made $42 million, but he'll lose $640,000 and the $5 million fine. What punishment did he get? If the NFL suspended him for a whole year, his contract would have told, and his 5-year contract would have become a 6-year contract, basically. And that's a big deal. Because Deshaun Watson, a quarterback in his mid-20s, can probably play till he's 35, 36, 38 years old, and that extra year is going to be worth roughly $50-55 million by the time he gets to it. So the NFL could have punished Deshaun Watson. They could have suspended him indefinitely, like they said to everyone that they wanted to do. But they didn't. And the only reason they didn't was because they didn't want to end up in federal court, even though they knew if it ended up in federal court that they would win. What is Roger Goodell doing? I actually think Roger Goodell is a good commissioner for the most part. I know. He screwed up Ray Rice, and he screwed up Bountygate, and I really didn't agree with him on Deflategate, and I thought that that was a punishment that doubled because everybody was mad at his lack of punishment in Spygate. But for the most part, I think Roger Goodell is a pretty good commissioner. Doesn't really anger a lot of people, even though he always gets booed. He has massive television contracts. He turns the draft into an event that now every other sport's trying to emulate. Even during COVID, they ran a draft that was the most popular television show on TV. Now, he didn't invent the NFL, but he has done a great job in terms of promoting it and getting it to be the behemoth that it is today. He's grown it internationally. He's done a lot of good for the game. But this, I think, he screwed up on. I said it when he decided to appeal the ruling to himself. And I said the reason that he is appealing the Deshaun Watson suspension is because it's the right thing to do. With all due respect to Judge Sue L. Robinson, who has more experience as a federal jurist than I ever will have because I'll never have that experience, she got it wrong. When Roger Goodell said the punishment should be a year, I agreed. He called it, as you heard in the McAfee clip, he called it predatorial behavior. And what did he do about it? no real punishment for Deshaun Watson. Sure, Cleveland will suck this season because they'll lose the first 11 games with Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback. And they play in a division that's very unforgiving. But they don't care. They've lost before. They'll lose this year. This will be what rich people do when they make an investment that's not very good. And they just, we'll just write it off as a loss on our taxes. The Cleveland Browns will just write off the 2022 season as, it's what it took in order for us to get a franchise quarterback. No more bull crapping around with Baker Mayfield and Case Keenum and Johnny Manziel and none of that. Those days are over. Those days of Tyrod Taylor were done. We got Deshaun. So no real punishment for Cleveland. No real punishment for Deshaun. And also the NFL could stay out of court. They had the opportunity to do the right thing. Major League Baseball suspended Trevor Bauer for basically 3 seasons. His career is basically over. I'm not here to compare apples to oranges, which is what that would be. Both their behaviors were reprehensible. So Rob Manfred, who never gets anything right, he got it right with Bauer. And Goodell swung and missed on the easiest field goal attempt of his life. It was a layup. Drop the hammer on Deshaun, and everybody will commend you for how you feel and how you treat women in the NFL. Instead, 11 games and a $5 million fine for somebody who's guaranteed to make $230 million, for somebody who's already made $42 million this year, for somebody who made $40 million to not play last year because he didn't want to. Way to bring the hammer, Roger. Just great. 615-737-1025. Your glorious text messages and phone calls are next. Stillman & Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840,
players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
And he has added players that do fit.
What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Mainly clear skies as we head into the evening and the overnight with comfortable temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. On our way to about 90 for Friday afternoon. Partly cloudy and isolated thunderstorms throughout the day. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Bob's Steak and Chop House is a renowned award-winning steakhouse in major cities across the U.S. Nashville is lucky to have a location here in downtown at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Fine dining is brought to a new level at Bob's with awards like the Wine Spectator Award 4 years in a row, TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence 5 years in a row, and Open Tables Diner's Choice Award 6 years in a row. Fine dining at its best. Bob's Steak and Chop House, open Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 10 p.m. in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Complimentary valet parking is always available.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit 1 per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
Dirks Bentley.
Beers on Me Tour 2022. This Friday, Bridgestone Arena.
I've been wrong. I'm a little bit holy water, but still a little bit burning.
Dierks Bentley, live in concert.
Yeah, I'm somewhere on a beach. If you don't come through, buddy, that's on you, 'cause the beer's on me.
On sale now. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
The biannual blowout is just a week away, and we've got a lot of work to do.
Keenan's Rug Emporium is rolling out a Labor Day bonanza.
Have that flat weave shipment coming in.
He needs 10 new sales associates as the crowds loom large.
Someone run a stock check on all the Moroccan 8x10s?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Things you like from McCreary after seeing him these last couple of days, going against different receivers than your own?
Yeah, Roger's competitive. I think he's challenges. He's very coachable. He loves to be coached, and they may catch a couple on him, but he's going to keep competing, and he challenges and comes up with a lot of ball production.
There you go. That was Vrabel and Roger McCreary. The big camp battle, which we all see Saturday night, is that corner position. McCreary versus Farley. My money is on McCreary. It was great to be on the morning show this morning. Joe Rexrode sitting there telling me how crazy I was for saying that McCreary was ahead of Farley, at which point I then told him that McCreary was, in fact, ahead of Farley on the depth chart. And so there was that. Phones are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. A lot of you want to weigh in on the Deshaun Watson non-apology, non-punishment suspension, which was really, truly reprehensible. I mean, the whole thing. Roger Goodell should be ashamed of himself. Texter says they are punishing the Browns way more than they are punishing Watson. So true. What's amazing is how Deshaun Watson can seriously get in trouble. I mean, seriously get in trouble. And everybody say one of the biggest problems is that he's not sorry. He gets up there on Friday and says, I'm sorry. Then they give him a non-punishment, which is really no punishment. And then today he goes, yeah, no, I'm not sorry anymore. Shocker. Boy, the NFL and the Texans, they taught Deshaun a lesson. We'll give you all the money in the world. We'll let you be a sexual predator. But you're not allowed to get any more massages from people that the Browns don't know. And you have to miss 11 games, even though you missed 17 last year and got all your money. And you'll still get all your money now. So sad, so pathetic, so embarrassing. How can the NFL, who suspended Tom Brady for 4 games with no evidence, when all he did, he got suspended because he wouldn't hand his cell phone over to the league. How can they give Deshaun 11 games? It's so embarrassing. So embarrassing. Texter says, I'd rather have Tannehill throwing picks than supporting a team who would give someone like that $230 million. The Browns are a dumpster fire. Go Titans. At least our quarterback is a good human being. I would go with that too. I mean, I would say that not every team has some guy who did something wrong. Bud Dupree on the Titans just pled guilty to clearly assaulting somebody at Walgreens. We saw the video. He absolutely did it. I think he has to pay like $480 in court costs. It's not the end of the world for me and Bud Dupree. He shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have gone into the Walgreens and shook those people or whatever it was. But whatever. This, I don't know if I'd be able to support this. I don't think I'd be able to support this. Texter says, I say let the players exact some punishment on the field since Watson didn't get much else. I think people don't understand this about the NFL. The players don't care. Now, I know. It's how could they share a locker room with that deviant sexual predator? The way they look at it is they share the locker room with a lot of guys who've done a lot of things. Not their business. Not saying it's right. I'm just telling you that's how they act. Texter into the text line says, Jared, do you think that Ryan Tannehill has any say on the fringe wide receivers on the roster? No, I don't. Here's what I think is kind of my thesis right now on the Titans receivers. 5 have made the team. Woods, Burks, Westbrook-Ikhine, McMath, and Phillips. Those are the 5 that Ryan Tannehill is going to throw the ball to this season. Outside of that, the guys who could, in theory, make the team at wide receiver: Dez Fitzpatrick, Mason Kinsey, Cody Hollister, Reggie Robertson, or Terry Godwin. I think they would like to put Terry Godwin and Reggie Robertson on the practice squad. I think they want Fitzpatrick to make the team because of the warm and fuzzies that they drafted him, and he's a hard worker, and he's a good kid. But he doesn't really offer them much on special teams, and he's not going to be a pass catcher over any of the 5 guys that I just mentioned, and I'm not sure how many teams would claim Dez Fitzpatrick if they released him. So I think it might be hard for Dez to make the team. Right now, I think the leader in the clubhouse, if they go with 6 receivers, and again, Woods, Burks, Westbrook-Ikhine, McMath, and Phillips have all made the team. Phillips will return punts. McMath and most likely Westbrook-Ikhine will both play on special teams. The one most likely to make the team would be Cody Hollister. And it's only because Cody Hollister does exactly what they tell him to do. He can play special teams. He can play on all the different units. He's played receiver. He knows the offense. Tannehill trusts him. So I could see Cody Hollister making the team. The other guys, I could see Terry Godwin on the practice squad. And then if something happens to Phillips, him being added to the roster. But as far as making the team, probably not. Texter into the text line says the Titans will release Logan Woodside because Malik Willis is our backup. I do not foresee Malik Willis being put in a game this season. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I don't understand how backup quarterbacks develop and how young guys, because remember Lamar Jackson, and I'm not comparing Malik Willis to Lamar Jackson because Malik Willis is not Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson looked terrible in one of his first preseason games. I think it was against Indianapolis, and it was on Monday Night Football, and he looked terrible. And by midseason, he was starting. So maybe I'm crazy. That's it for us. We're out of here. We're back tomorrow at 2. I do want to give a happy birthday shout-out to my dad, August 18th. Very happy birthday out there to Barry Stillman. That's it for us. We're out of here. ESPN Radio coming up next.